Ladies and gentlemen, it's not often I get to say this with V8SCOPS, but we're going back to back, baby. And that means a quick turnover. That means you have to be head on a swivel. This means that you need to be right on the top of your game. Practice limited. Racing ability intensified. But a circuit like Mosport is one where you need to be at your level best or you're off in one of these fabled tyre barriers. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Virtual Racing School V8 Supercars Online Premiere Series here on V8 Online and, of course, on iRacing Live. I am hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the observer of sim racing, joined, of course, with the Southpaw racer, Reese Gardner. Reese, this circuit is fast, it's ferocious, and it is so unforgiving when you go offline.
It certainly is. Mosport, obviously known as Canadian Tire Motorsport Park now, but Mosport, as it has always been known, been terrifying drivers for the better part of 50 years now. And going offline here, as you said, is something that you certainly don't want to do. There isn't a single corner on this track that doesn't matter. There isn't a single corner that you can't compromise on. So, yeah, it's certainly going to be an entry in the half-ton V8 supercars.
It sure is going to. But for now, we're going to very briefly just take us to the facts of this place, the history, the heritage of a 50-year-plus circuit, because Mosport certainly has a lot that it has offered over the years.
"71 kilometers outside Toronto, Bowmanville, Ontario, is the site of this historic venue, which in many ways is a living relic from the past. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, formerly known as Mosport, and still known as Mosport to many of us, is the oldest operating racetrack in Canada, and like few other circuits of its age, has not had its basic layout changed in any meaningful way. It's very much a racetrack of the 60s, super fast corners, smooth elevation change, and some of the most natural flow of any circuit in the world make this a sublime circuit in any category. But limited runoff and a bumpy surface amp up the difficulty to insane levels. Mosport had its beginnings in the late 1950s. At that point, Canada had only one permanent circuit that even then had only just been built, Westwood Park in British Columbia. All the rest of Canada's racetracks were either street circuits or airport venues. In 1958, with 26,000 Canadian dollars, the British Empire Motor Club purchased 450 acres of farmland outside Bowmanville, known for decades as Old Walter's Place. The BEMC formed a company to handle the construction and operation of a new racetrack. The company was called Mosport Limited, a contraction of the word motorsport. An initial design for the track was drafted in 1960, and construction soon started. While the track was being built, Grand Prix driver Sterling Moss visited the site, and upon being shown the plans, suggested a change to the Turn 5 hairpin. Moss recommended the hairpin be replaced by a sweeper flowing into a right-angled turn, and Moss Corner was born. The construction, delayed by rain and zoning issues, went way over budget, but the track soon made a name for itself upon opening in 1961. Events throughout the following decade broke many Canadian attendance records. The venue gained enough traction that it was selected as the host of the first ever Formula One Canadian Grand Prix in 1967. Mosport alternated with Circuit Mont-Tremblant in Quebec as the host of the race, but after the latter fell into financial trouble, Mosport held the race from 1971 to 1977, after which the Canadian Grand Prix moved to Montreal. Mosport still held high-level events into the 1980s, but the circuit's safety issues came to a head in 1985 when Manfred Winkelhock lost his life in a crash at Turn 2 in his Porsche 962. From that point on, most international racing began to drift away from Mosport. North American sports car racing remained though, and as the track came under new ownership in the late 90s, it was upgraded to modern standards, gaining a new pit exit and extended runoff, and most of the track being widened to 40 feet. Nowadays, Mosport remains a dearly loved circuit that is visited by many North American racing series every year, most notably the IMSA Sports Car Championship and NASCAR's Truck Series. Mosport is a fun sim racing challenge in any car, be it a high downforce screamer or a roaring, heavy V8 supercar. The track has been a regular feature on V8 schedules in the past and has always provided a real spectacle. We're sure it will do the same this weekend. Expect slipstreaming aplenty and on-edge battles.
Well, there's the facts and stats of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, a circuit which has a lot of top speed, certainly has been around, and it has been one of the true hidden gems of a Canadian racing heritage. But in sim racing terms, it's about one thing, and it's about one thing only. It's about overtakes, and Super Split 2 wants to be all about those overtakes. And Reese, when you see this circuit, when you understand that these drivers have one goal to get to the front, this is one of the few tracks where you could look at things and go, you've got about, let's say, 15 positions back and still have a legitimate chance of winning here?
Yeah, I definitely say so. Mosport being one of those circuits that absolutely turns it on in terms of racing. Anything can happen, and you know, it's not like the current version of the circuit in real life where there's tarmac runoffs on the exits of the fastest corners. They've still got grass and gravel to contend with out here, so if any pass is to be made, it needs to be made decisively if it's to be made cleanly.
Clayton's Corner is going to be so difficult once race time gets itself going. And of course, we have to talk about the new iRacing update features as well, because you run off, it's not going to be the simple case of you can get yourself back on quickly, Reese. You've got the new tyre track model that comes in when you run through things like the grass. It's just going to make the outsides of this circuit an absolute dirt bowl.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Especially when you come to corners like Moss, where it's very easy to run wide into the gravel off the exit of that corner, bringing some dirt back onto the circuit. And these curves, they're pretty thin for how quick the circuit is. So once the drivers start pushing the track limits a little bit, you are going to see it turn into a bit of a Canadian dirt bowl.
Oh, you bet it will. And of course, there's one corner that is completely different from all the rest at Mosport, and that is that Moss hairpin. It's such a difficult corner. It's off camber, double apex, right-hander. Try and stab the power down if you dare. It is just fuel for the bonfire in these V8 supercars to say, go on, turn around, let the backswing out on you.
Yeah, exactly right. It's very easy for that sort of thing to happen. Other turns that I will definitely be looking out for are turn 1, particularly at the start of the race. When the drivers come streaming into that first turn and try to switch over into turn 2, you're definitely going to see a few interesting maneuvers being made there. The drivers will want to be very careful not to dip a wheel into the outside line, lest they have a spin, possibly be collected by all the drivers behind them.
1 minute 18's the fastest times in practice that we're seeing. Jamie Mcknight in the 027 is on top with that. And we have Brenton O'Brien on pole position for this event as well. He currently did a 118.491. And Brenton O'Brien said that he was going to retire from sim racing when he get a sparey, and he's already got one in the books, and he could be on course for 10 more if he wins this event here, Reese, and then a whole lot more if he can get himself into the main dance by winning.
Yeah, of course. You know, of course, the win in Super Split 2 guarantees you a place in top split. So Brenton O'Brien will definitely be looking out for that sort of achievement. Going by the practice times, though, it looks like Jamie Mcknight, Jason Hyde, the likes of Gary Cooper as well could definitely be challengers here. One lap isn't everything around here, and the drivers have got 26 laps of racing ahead of them to try and jostle for that one position that gets them into the main game.
And of course, they have to make one mandatory pit stop in this Super Split 2 event, so they understand what is available to them. Now, that big run coming out of Moss Corner, down the Mario Andretti Straight, and heading towards turns 8, 9, and 10 out on track is going to be the prime overtaking opportunity today. There aren't many places you can overtake at Mosport. It is a very flowing circuit, so getting a vehicle down the inside is difficult. But Reese, 8 into 9 into 10, double switchbacks, maybe even triple switchbacks we're looking at.
Yeah, and the corner radiuses are closing down in terms of speed every single time. It just keeps getting slower and slower and slower, and the curbs are high, especially in the last turn. With that last corner, you have to be absolutely inch perfect on your line in and out, because if you take a little bit too much of that curb, you get a little bit too aggressive, then that's your entire run onto that, albeit short, start-finish straight ruined, but it can open you up for an attack into turn 1. Every single corner is important around here, and that final section really proves that.
Oh, that final section is going to be so testing for drivers up and down this field. One magic transfer spot awaits, but points for these drivers are all looking good. And we've already seen one smack the tyres. That's Carl Stokes, who got a little bit on the inside then of the curb. Vehicle would loop around as he couldn't grab it together. A big slide, and it doesn't matter how quickly you hit the brakes, that rear axle can lock up, and there is no chance of you retaining and getting yourself back going. But 40 drivers looking to all have this charge or thereabouts. I think it's a little bit less with the dropouts that we've had today. But Reese, what are you expecting from the opening race of the night?
I don't want to be too mean, but I am expecting a few big incidents throughout the field. Mosport doesn't really have much in the way of track space that results for clean racing on lap 1, and if you've got 40 hungry V8 supercar drivers going into those same turns, there's going to be carnage. But I have faith in the drivers here. I certainly hope that they can make it through lap 1 cleanly, but corners to look out for would definitely be turn 2 and Moss, plus the run into and out of it, from my perspective.
Praise be unto you then, all V8SCOPS Super Split 2 drivers. Praise be unto you, as there's a spin for Matt Morris, who just about keeps it out of the tyres at Quebec, so he certainly won't be too happy. He may be speaking a little French after that one, but practice just about to come to a close. 26 laps will get going in a minute's time afterwards, and the grid shall be as follows. A long hold then for the grid as Brenton O'Brien puts himself up on pole position. Jamie Mcknight will start second with Henry King third. Adam Wyborn will go from fourth with Stephen Varga fifth and Jason Hyde in sixth. Matt Morris and Greg Sharp make up row 4 with row 5 holding Benjamin Smith and Alex Greenwood.
11th will be Craig Jones with Gary Cooper just behind him. TTL Esports Cameron Dance starts in 13th place with Carl Stokes in 14th, with the top 15 rounded out by Jacob Schooley. Jeff Gauci in 16th with Steve Jansen in 17th. And the final positions in the top 20, Damon Mulqueen, Bo Headlight Flasher Albert, and Lachlan Smith for Synergy Sim Racing.
And very quickly, Grant Keynes, Wayne Taylor, Matthew Deere, you've got Stacey Walker, Graham Fireland, Martin Casey, Simon Black, Jamie Peters, Stephen Templeton, Adrian Zelle, Jacob Knight, Reese Keane, Damon Stockton, Greg Bennett, and Oakley Druitt for the 35 here. But 26 laps, that's all that matters at the moment. Pace behind Brenton O'Brien. And let's get going then. We are underway. A sluggish start from O'Brien, and we'll go 3 wide instantly. No, there's contact instantly as they go around. And O'Brien turning a spin on his own from second position was Jamie Mcknight. It was Henry King, I don't believe. But my goodness, a very chock-a-block start. O'Brien was in no position to attack.
No, they didn't even make it to the first turn for the carnage to start. And already we've got more drivers coming out, and that is the caution flag thrown. We've got a safety car already. They didn't even make it to turn 1, Jake.
They didn't make it to turn 1. The safety car thrown for Mulqueen, who was in the middle of the road. Wayne Taylor had nowhere to go, and then everybody behind had a massive, massive panic in the middle of the pack. So caution came out with 2 or 3 separate incidents. Now we need to go back and dissect a lot of issues that happened off the start of this event, because Brenton O'Brien got that really slow start race, but it wasn't the fact that it was just slow. He was slow, he was trying to cover off drivers, trying to get into the opening corners, and it's just, he got a little too close there with Henry King. King went around, and also Adam Wyborn spun right on his merry lonesome on the outside of turn 1.
Yeah, he certainly did, actually. I'm going to take a quick look at what went on there, because it looks,
sorry, I stand corrected.
It looks to me like O'Brien actually went into Wyborn once he had turned King. So, yeah, that was all caused by Brenton O'Brien, and I think if O'Brien had not started moving over to the left, we probably would have seen a bit of a cleaner start out there. But, of course, it wasn't O'Brien's fault that the rest of what happened ended up happening. It was some jostling in the mid-pack that caused the incident between Jason Hyde and Damon Mulqueen. So it's certainly not what you want to see starting off an event like this.
No, you don't. I've seen a couple drivers have to pull it over. I've seen an engine blow as well. That engine has gone for Oakley Druitt, so he'll be out. Stephen Templeton's out. Jamie Peters is out. Damon Mulqueen as well out of this event. So a lot of drivers have run themselves into trouble, as well as Varga, who is parked on the outside. A lot of drivers then, 5 of them are parked up and are unable to get themselves going. But your top 5, a drastic change as we expected here. We got ourselves Jamie Mcknight, who leads this event. Matt Morris in 2nd. 3rd is Benjamin Smith from 9th position. Stephen Varga was 4th, but he is now off of the circuit. And I want to get a look, actually, at what happened there to Stephen Varga, because he was circulating absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Oh, his engine went.
Yeah, okay.
His engine went under pacing. He just blew it up. No. It just got a bit too hot, and it's blown up. And that was from 4th place, so Craig Jones now moves up into 4th. 5th position now for Greg Sharp. Cameron Dance is now up into 6th of all places, with Gary Cooper 7th. Greenwood's 8th, Stokes 9th, and now Schooley's up in 10th. Yeah,
wow, okay. So, obviously, it looks to me like, well, Varga already had quite a bit of damage on that car from what I can see. So, the car, I think, just gave up the ghost. There was just nothing left for it to do. I also wanted to draw our attention back to the Mulqueen and Hyde incident. It looks to me like it was actually caused by another driver making contact with Mulqueen at the start. So Jason Hyde, I think, innocent in all of that.
Yeah, I certainly think so. They were 3 wide, and there could have been takers to go onto pit road. Of course, got to make the strategy work here, but this is such a difficult circuit to go and fuel save at. You are constantly trying to modulate the throttle, and it can always get very, very difficult when things like that come into play. Lights off, though, on top of the iRacing Roof First safety car, which means that we are going green next time by. And race, we had all of a corner to understand how the racing was going to go, but of course it's a single file restart that we're going to be going back to, which means that positions are going to be a little bit tougher to come by. Look at how many drivers, though, are down on pit road. O'Brien, King, Druitt, Wyborn, Hyde, Mulqueen, Adrian Zelle trying to get out of pit road, Casey, Peters, Templeton. That's about a third of the field that's already gone in a lap.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame to see, honestly. But this start that will be coming up very soon, I think, should be cleaner. The drivers, I think, have gotten over the initial shock of the start, and we should see a bit more cleanliness going on here. So safety car coming into Moss Corner right now. They'll have a long wait down the Mario Andretti straight, and then those last 3 corners to try and suss out what they will do when we get back racing. What will Jamie Mcknight do? Will he go early? Will he just keep the pace up until the green flag flies? We'll see. But the drivers definitely have their work cut out for them around here. It's only a short race. A minute 19 is the kind of lap times you'll see under racing pace. Only 26 of those. This race is going to be over in about half an hour. I'd say 40 minutes maximum if we have another caution. So hard times ahead for quite a few people.
Hard times are going to be ahead, as there was a Paramore song once that questioned hard times, but Jamie Mcknight's been at the dance before. Matt Morris has been up there fighting the dance, and Craig Jones as well. He knows how to be up there and racing. Watch out for Cameron Dance, though, in 6th position. He loves making positions, and if he can get a couple more under his belt, he'll be looking in prime position to attack. Pace car dives late down onto the lane. Jamie Mcknight gets the green flag. Let's get going then. And he checks up the field behind Jones. And look at that, already Cameron Dance looking to the inside at 1 here. Under pressure is Greg Sharp as they go into the opening corner. Dance looking for everything, and look at that. Down the inside, and he's going to take the position as well, or is he into the notorious turn 2 known as Clayton's corner? Big slide coming back there from Sharp. He holds it together.
Yes, he does, and it's very difficult to hold it through that corner, especially when you're racing with another car. Dance already extending the gap back to Sharp. He's come under pressure now from Gary Cooper, Alex Greenwood, and everyone behind them really starting to mess around in the mid-pack. Up the front, though, it looks to me as though Jamie Mcknight has controlled this very nicely. Matt Morris, though, coming under pressure from Benjamin Smith. He's gotten a good run out of Moss Corner, and now coming down the Mario Andretti straight, it's got a few curves in it, so the drivers need to be careful. There's also a bit of camber here as well. Benjamin Smith stuck on the outside here. There's no way he'll be able to make a move around here. Matt Morris is going to hold on to that 2nd position. Cameron Dance in the background running very wide, coming through the 3rd last corner.
Yeah.
Looks like they've all managed to keep it together for now, though.
They have, as the leading 4 now looks to try and break away so quickly from attack comes defense, because Craig Jones looking at the inside, not going to find it, as he wants to make his way through. Maybe eye up turn 2. It's such a difficult place to make the move. He angles to that inside, but is unable to make anything happen. Right now, there's also a lovely little train going on backwards all the way to Reese Keane in the end. And all these drivers in this train want to start making positions, want to start thinking, okay, how do I get myself moving forward? So you see the likes of, say, Bo Albert, for example, wants to get past Janssen on Schooley on Stokes, everyone just searching for an angle to go through. But at the front, once again, Jamie Mcknight under pressure here. A good run there from Matt Morris, but he had to check up slightly.
Yeah, he did, and that's the nature of Moss, that sweeper going into a very slow right angle turn. It's very easy to get accordioned up behind a car, but Matt Morris using the slipstream to his advantage. He's got a very good run there in the latter part of the straight. They're going to go side by side possibly through here. Yeah, Morris is going to have a go around the outside, but he's caught on the marbles, on the rubberless section of the circuit, and he has to slot back in behind Jamie Mcknight for at least one more lap. Mcknight, he's caught the grass there on the entry to the last turn, and that's brought Morris right back into it.
Here we go, Morris looking for the outside at 1, trying to open up the corner, and is just going to run out of road on lap 6 of the event. Angling to the inside, mistake behind, and that was Benjamin Smith. How he's kept that out the wall, I will never know, but that drops him back to 4th into the clutches of Cameron Dance. That's how quickly it can end here at Mosport, and Smith now with Dance just behind, looking at 4th, side by side behind Alex Greenwood. Kyle Stokes in a very nice scrap, and Greenwood holds on.
Yes, indeed, and that battle up the front between Mcknight and Morris is still going on. Mcknight going defensive into Moss. Oh, there was a chance there, but Morris elected not to take it. I think that was a very smart move from him, because that could have slowed them up right into the pack behind them. He's a little too far behind to make a move. He's going to have to wait just a little bit longer. That train behind Greenwood, though, is really going off.
It certainly is, as once more Matt Morris angles to the outside, defensive line taken early, and a big wiggle, a bit of grass, yes, you're right, able to get it back and gathered up together, looking for the inside at turn 9, not going to happen though, as the train looks to fight on side by side in the second train. Janssen going at it, this time with Jacob Schooley. Schooley on the outside, not much he can do, it's the outside for turn 1 as well, and that should be position done surely then for Steve Janssen, but don't count your chickens just yet. In fact, you can't count your chickens, because look at that. Schooley back on the outside, trying everything to stay in play, but just won't be able to. So that's Janssen up a position, up a vital position as well. And now we need to think about strategy. We need to think about pit stops here. When do you dive?
That is the big question on our minds. There is one mandatory pit stop in this race, but I don't know, man. If you feel like you have the pace over the rivals ahead of you, then it would probably be best to pit early. Get into that clean air, try and make up some time in that transitionary phase of the race. But I honestly don't know. There's so many drivers here that are out of position from where they started thanks to the lap 1 incidents. So it's all up in the air right now.
It is very much up in the air as Matt Morris again angling on Jamie Mcknight, but needs to be very cautious about that. But once again, Jamie Mcknight, though, he's running a line that's very entertaining, shall we say, heading into turn number 8. I wonder if he's going to be picked up for overblocking. Look at that run, though. Looking for the inside was Morris. Morris going to get a little bit pinched, though, on the exit. This is going to open up Craig Jones. All gloves are off right now on lap 8 as Jones looks for the inside, not going to find.
Yeah, that's one cool thing that you can see about that last sequence of turns. Through the penultimate turn, if you get on the throttle just a little bit early, you can try and fire it up the inside at the last turn. Problem is, it really narrows up through there, and you've got that big curve on the inside. As I'm noticing, Dance has lost a spot, and now Morris is starting to really crack under pressure here. He almost got involved with Craig Jones and Benjamin Smith. Smith now has a run on Jones on the run up to Moss, but he has to stay behind as they go over the crest. And here we go, Mcknight versus Morris once again. You can see it's a little dance that they're doing, the same every single lap. Morris taking that tighter line through Moss, and then he's able to get into the slipstream down the straight, but Mcknight will see him coming.
Yeah, he certainly will. There's a microphone issue there for Reese just at the very end. We'll keep an eye on that one as we go forward. Matt Morris still looking for an opportunity as he heads into the final few right-handers. This is turn number 8 and not able to make things work. Dance has been struggling at 8 as well. It puts him backwards towards Gary Cooper more rather than the charging Greg Sharp trying to get onto the train. Look at this though down the inside. Ben Smith looking for opportunity, but it's going to be pinched. He's not going to have the pace that he wants coming out to the corner to make the move, and as such, he will have to sit and wait, and he will be unable to make things work. But he's going to try through turn number 1, not going to work behind that as well. There was Gary Cooper having a little half ascent, a half look, not going to happen. But it soon opens up the gap to a second here for Craig Jones. He's got to be careful he doesn't lose the rear of Matt Morris, then it will be a 2-vehicle race, and that's not what anybody in that second train will now want to see here. And Reese, I have nothing else to say here except you've got to stay calm. You can't afford to be attacked too much here at Mosport.
That's exactly right. You've really got to measure yourself here. You can't go for any crazy moves because this track is so momentum based. You need to be able to do those consistent laps. Don't make any silly moves on the guy in front of you, sorry, and it'll pay dividends for you. The top 2, though, are continuing their fight here, and we're going to see a repeat of what's happened over the last few laps. Matt Morris managing to hold on for just a little longer this time, but he has to slot in behind again. Maybe he's hoping that some rubber will be put down on the outside eventually.
Well, maybe he can hope, but hope it's just that. Dive down to pit road, and Greg Sharp's going to make the decision for the drivers as he goes, well, I don't want to stay here. I'm just going to go dive down on the lane, make my stop now, and hope that it pays off in the latter stages. So he's going to come down, make that first stop, and look to try and find a little bit of clean air. Great scrap, though, going on a little bit further behind. You've got Lachlan Smith at the front of a 6-car train. Taylor now looking for the inside. Oh, you're brave at turn number 2. There on Graham Silent. And guess what? He makes it stick. What a move.
Yeah, fantastic stuff there from Wayne Taylor. You know, it's always possible that such a move can be made, but as the leaders are continuing to duke it out up in front, Mcknight and Morris have started to fall back here. Oh, have a look at that. Craig Jones almost had a bit of a look in there. These guys have caught back up.
They have caught back up, and now that's going to just be a little bit concerning here as Mcknight maybe trying to cover that inside once more, lisking over. And I think for Matt Morris, he's got to angle his vehicle to the inside of Jamie Mcknight, do or die, if he wants that transfer spot. He understands that on the outside, he can't make the move. Track conditions, 31 degrees. They're not bad at all, but hot for morning conditions, I definitely have to say. No takers this time onto the lane. No one will cover Greg Sharp and his move on lap 10 to start lap number 11, but right now, it's just been a case of waiting. It's just been a case of, okay, these moves aren't happening. I've got to try and angle myself to make sure that they work. Greg Sharp's got Adam Wyborn just in front. That's not going to be too bad, though, because Adam Wyborn was very, very quick in qualifying.
Yeah, he definitely was. Adam Wyborn started in 4th place. Unfortunately, he was caught up in a couple of those lap 1 incidents, I believe. So he's way out of sync with everybody else. We'll see how Sharp and Wyborn go as they make their way through the field as everyone else takes their pit stops. I'd be very interested to see, because they are in very clear air at the moment, as is our pole sitter, Brendan O'Brien, who finds himself currently in 22nd.
That's definitely not where he wants to be, but more accustomed to his split 2 results so far this season. But right now, Gary Cooper, Benjamin Smith, and Ben Smith made a mistake there on this lap. That's why he's dropped back a couple of positions, and that was all through Moss.
Contact.
When to get onto the power, that wasn't going to work. Contact then, as they look to try and go through the corner. Smith not going to give any room. He's going to go to the inside. He's going to dive it down onto the lane. Strategic. And look at that. Gary Cooper was going to leave him room. Oh, wait, where's he gone? Oh, wait, he's down on pit road.
Yeah, Bo Albert, meanwhile, following Smith into the pits. So they're making their moves now as well. Oh, have a look at Jeff Gauci just having to let Lachlan Smith go. That's a little sniff of an over-under happening there, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So we'll see where Smith and Albert come out in all of this, but out on track, we're seeing drivers starting to get a little bit fed up with their current position in traffic and are thinking, well, you know, I'm just going to jump into the pits. Oh, Matthew Deere, big slide there with Grant Caines and Wayne Taylor, and they're going to go side by side over the crest. This is the exact kind of situation that the drivers diving into the pits want to avoid.
Oh, you bet it is. And what's more important is Ben Smith has come out behind Greg Sharp. So keep an eye on that one. Sharp is in the wheelhouse and the tools are getting sharper. Still the battle for the race lead going on as Matt Morris again looks to the outside, but is covered once more by Jamie Mcknight, doing a fantastic job of holding off the charge. You got in 3rd position Craig Jones, and you got Cameron Dance in 4th. Do you dive onto lane? 2 takers, 2 stay out. So in comes Jones, in comes Morris, outstay Mcknight, outstay Dance.
There we go. Now, this is going to be very interesting to see where the top 4 stack up in all of this. I would expect Mcknight and Dance to either respond to this on the next lap, maybe wait for a bit longer to try and make their stop. Oh, goodness me. Contact there. Sharp on O'Brien, and Benjamin Smith trying to make his way through all of this as well. So these guys... Oh, yes, indeed. And O'Brien just staying very wide out of the last turn. Just get that out of his hair. But Benjamin Smith, Greg Sharp, and Adam Wyborn are going to all come through together. Craig Jones and Matt Morris just up ahead.
Yeah, but just behind, and that's not going to work. So Sharp got 1, but didn't get the rest. So he's got to do a little bit more. Mcknight then and Dance are going to be in good positions. Now, Cameron Dance has had the ability to selfishly take the toe from Jamie Mcknight. That's going to bring him back into play when it comes into this race and this stop, which is due potentially here. We're halfway, lap 13 then of 26. Jacob Schooley still looking to find a way past Steve Janssen in the CMR car, but not quite close enough to make the moves. Any takers for any takers? No, they both stay out. So this is a bold decision to stay out a little bit longer. I personally would have gone and covered off the move instantly.
Yeah, I would have too, but you know, obviously they've got their own ideas about how their race is going to pan out. We'll see if that works or not. Dance using all of the road and then some on the exit of turn 1.
Oh,
So, oh goodness me, those guys are really pushing it out there. They want to try and gap as much as possible so that they can maintain their positions when they eventually pit.
oh, and here comes Benjamin Smith. Oh, they're into each other. And round goes Benjamin Smith, and he gets a tap from Bo Albert. Round he goes. Nobody knows. And he is completely thrown into the grass and trying to stop things. Oh, that was a heavy one for Benjamin Smith.
It certainly was. I think the problem with all of that was Benjamin was already crossed up trying to pass Greg Sharp, and then Sharp just tried to move over to cover him, and Smith was unable to respond. He was too busy gathering up his car. Now Greg Sharp is involved in this huge fight with Steve Jansen.
Oh, he is, and he was looking for the inside at 4, but it was not going to happen for him. We've also got side-by-side down the back stretch. There's Graham Filan versus Reese Keane, and Reese Keane is on that outside, which we have seen so far this race has not been able to be held, and here comes the up and under attempt, not forthcoming. So Filan holding on and doing a very good job of holding on to things as well. Leaders stay out once more, and Cameron Dance is now harassing Jamie Mcknight and is in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, he definitely is, and I was saying this during the broadcast of the Oceanic Sprint Championship on Wednesday. Dance seems to race his best when there is a car in front of him. He's a racer through and through. He really loves to try and make the pass. The chase is what he lives for here, and Mcknight is providing that for him in spades.
Oh yes, that chase is there, and Jamie Mcknight knows that the golden carrot on the stick is right in front of Cameron Dance's nose, but of course that pit stop cycle is going to be crucial. Mcknight did a 1:19.7 that last time by. Keep an eye on Matt Morris's time. He did a 19 flat. He is 7/10 of a second quicker, and Jamie Mcknight now is in trouble. He needs a perfect stop, as does Cameron Dance. Otherwise, it's going to have to be work, and work that is going to get Jamie Mcknight back to the lucky transfer spot. Down towards pit road angle. No takers, because there was someone trying to get down on the lane. That was Martin Casey. One track pit road. Do not get held up on the lane.
Yeah, exactly. The pit entry here at Mosport is incredibly tight. It's one of those things where, oh, Jansen, Wyborn, and Sharp still battling. It's coming down the back straight, but down that pit road, the only place you can really think about getting up alongside someone is the exit.
It is, and holding that pace on the exit, you make sure that you get the power down. You need to be hopeful that you get a great stop in order to make that happen. But for now, keep an eye on this Greg Sharp train, as they have completely dropped off of the Craig Jones and Matt Morris train, who just did 18.8 on that last lap. Fantastic laps down to the inside, an attempt from Jansen, but never ever had the braking distance to make that work, and just trying to hold everything together, but it just seems that nothing works here. The outside certainly has not been a factor today.
Yeah, certainly not. Mosport, it turns out to be a circuit where there's really only one line once you get into the mid-corner. There's such a tight line on the inside of a lot of these turns, so if you're stuck on the outside, it's as good as done. I'm just going to check back in on the top two. Mcknight in, so Dance is going to stay out. I don't know if that's the right decision.
We will see, though. So Jamie Mcknight, this is a crucial stop. The times have not been brilliant in the late stage of this stint. And you talk about breaking up stints into third, you look at that last stint looking to be good. He'll be in the penultimate box. Has he missed it? No. Yes, he has, so he'll go backwards as well. Jamie Mcknight struggling then when it comes to this stint, and now it should be an all formality that Matt Morris makes his way through, and he does, as does Craig Jones, as does, coming out of pit road, Gary Cooper jump in the stops. Now look at this, it means that he sees Sharp jump, Wyborn, who's yet to come down in jump, as well as, look at that, there was also Steve Jansen jumping as well. Terror stop.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Jamie Mcknight would be absolutely fuming. I think if he had responded to Morris the lap after he pitted, he'd be in a much better position. All that time spent running on those tyres out there has really hurt him. So now he's got a bunch of work to do if he wants to try and get back up to even having a chance at the lead of this race. Gary Cooper really pressuring the back of Greg Sharp coming into Moss, but it's hard to make a pass into there. Drivers like Mcknight, they don't have much time. I don't know if this race is his anymore.
No, they don't have much time. Some of the retirements that we've had today are the likes of Templeton, Peters, Mulqueen, Druitt, Henry King, Vargas, L.A. Hyde, Stockton, Casey Smith, and now Bo Albert is another retiree in the 06. Just trying to get an eye out onto where that happened. He was on the lane and it stayed very much on the lane. It looked like he had damage there, and well, that is what it is.
Yes, and Gary Cooper's finally made that move on Greg Sharp through the last turn, and the move is completed into turn 1. So now Adam Wyborn will be pressuring him, but Mcknight, have a look at Mcknight. He's really taken advantage of that fresh car he has. Oh, goodness me. Thank goodness the track is just a little bit wider through there. Otherwise, Wyborn would have been wiped out.
Oh, Jamie Mcknight is taking no liberties. Now, here's the next question. Adam Wyborn getting involved in that early incident. I think he would have come down onto the lane and made that stop under pitting conditions, under the yellow flag conditions. I think he could try and save his way to the end here and actually put himself back in a decent position. Matt Morris and Craig Jones down the road with Steve Janssen currently net third, but in comes Cameron Dance. Now this needs to be a very good stop. He's trying to race up against those leaders, but right now all that he needs to do, all that Cameron Dance needs, is a good and effective stop.
Yeah, and it starts right here when he comes to a stop. He's managed to absolutely nail it in that pit box. So now we wait and see how things go. Jeff Gauci will go by to take the race lead, but he still has yet to make his stop. Dance is away. Oh, this is going to be close between him and Matt Morris.
No, he's gone.
No.
And, well, Dance isn't too far back, though. He'll get up to speed about 2 seconds, though. So that's okay. He's got that in his sights. He's got Steve Janssen just behind as well. So if things go awry, maybe he can use Janssen to get back to the train. But they've got themselves 7 laps to go. And Wyborn gets turned. And that was, whoa, at turn number 1. Spread eagle across the main circuit. That was very, very scary.
It certainly was, and it all started when he went side by side with Greg Sharp in turn 1 on the exit. Wyborn just continued to track out, but Sharp was still there.
Yeah, Sharp very much still there. I was going to question maybe if a caution could have been thrown there, but he managed to get back going of his own power, letting a lot of vehicles go through. That wasn't a very dangerous place on the circuit on the inside of turn number 2, which is arguably the fastest corner on the circuit and the one which has the biggest consequence for incident. But for now, that opens out the pack then. Top 2 are still Craig Jones and Matt Morris, second and first, with Jeff Gauci actually leading this one. And again, I think that this has been very clever. Jeff Gauci, of all things, I think he also came down in the pit stop cycle, potentially.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and check, because it was contact with Gauci that ended up taking out Damon Mulqueen, and of course that was not Gauci's fault. I think it was just a case of 3 drivers going into the same piece of track, and no one was actually at fault there, in my opinion. But of course, you know, I feel free to correct me if there is a difference in opinion there. But Jeff Gauci, no,
he has to come down and make a stop.
He still has to come down, yeah. So Gauci's just tried to salvage as much as he can from this race. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out in all of this, but I think it definitely won't be anywhere near the top 5.
It won't be. He'll certainly cycle on backwards a bit, and what a top 5 train that was starting to get here. Craig Jones now looking to be the aggressor as Matt Morris turns from offensive lineman to defensive lineman, as they now have 6 laps to go when they next cross the line, looking for opportunities, but again, not close enough. You've got to time your runs here at Mosport. It's sometimes the American way, shall we say, even though we're in Canada, to say make a number and then go stick a move. So for now, make your number first and foremost. Then what's your next plan, Reese? You go stick a move.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Craig Jones is wanting to do that in basically every corner at the moment. I noticed through the last turn, his mid-corner speed was superior to Morris, but he just had no room to try and get alongside. Meanwhile, fastest lap of the race from Cameron Dance. He is on a charge, an 18.6.
An 18.6, that was 0.3 of a second quicker than the drivers in front. That puts him within 1.5 seconds of Craig Jones, and we'll be looking at the faintest whiff of draft down the Mario Andretti straight. And now for Cameron Dance. He understands that if he wants to go out there and get positioned and get into top split for the first time this season, he's got to get past 2 drivers, and he's got to get past 2 drivers who want to make moves. As now Craig Jones once again just sitting behind, happy to wait at this stage. Jones wants to make the move when he is close enough. Right now, he has not been close enough. He's been saving, he's been waiting, and he's just trying to get into the mirrors now of Matt Morris. Say, hello, I'm here, watch out for me.
Exactly right, and as they approach the end of the race, this is where he wants to start thinking about the move. Honestly, oh, look at the speed that he's got through these penultimate turns. He's just unable to make any use of it, though. And that has allowed Dance to draft right up to the back of these guys. So now we've got a proper top 3 battle here. But from Jones's perspective, the best place and time to make a move on Matt Morris is in the last turn on the last lap of the race, because then Morris has no chance to try and come back at him. The front straight here at Mosport is very short.
It is very short, but we've also seen how Matt Morris has been very happily just lifting himself wider and wider through that right-hander as he runs very, very wide through Quebec corner, trying to get the power down. It's so... And we're looking at Reece Keane, actually. Just had himself a bit of a moment as he's now back in 16th position.
Yeah, he is. He's that was actually a turn at the final corner that happened all on his own. Just caught the outside. All his own.
Then he got contact a little bit later on. That was from Jacob Knight, who was heading through the corner. He was getting back going. Knight, he was unsighted, nowhere to go. He gets a massive clobber into the rear right. So he's got a lot of damage now on his vehicle, not what he wants. But at the front, what Matt Morris wants is Craig Jones and Cameron Dance to start battling.
Yes, oh, Keane's actually spun again, sorry. He's he ended up spinning out of turn 1. Oh no, hang on a minute. Did he intentionally crash himself out? He must have been very unhappy with that, because it just looks like he put himself into a tank slapper on the straight run to turn 2 and just retired.
Well, it's a retirement, and the stewards will look at that going, well, if you've done a misdemeanor there, as look at this, Cameron Dance diving down to the inside at Quebec corner, and he's going to get it sorted. That is opportunistic. Cameron Dance proving that you can do it in the most unorthodox of places, shuts the door as well on Craig Jones. Jones would need the Hubble telescope to see that move coming.
Certainly, that's a good move there from Dance, and now his next target is going to be Matt Morris. Craig Jones, big slide on the exit of Moss. That's ruined his run down the straight. Dance, no such issue though. And Matt Morris, Morris actually on 10-lap-old tyres versus Dance's 4-lap-old tyres, and the difference in that can be seen by about 3/10. It was a 19.2 on the last lap for Matt Morris and 18.9 for Cameron Dance. So you can see already at the end of the straight, he's catching up inch by inch.
3 laps to go for Cameron Dance to peg down Matt Morris. The prize, a spot in the V8 Supercars Online Premier Series brought by Virtual Racing School. That's what's at stake for Cameron Dance. He understands what he needs to do, and what he needs to do is be absolutely perfect. On the lane then is Jamie Peters, who is many laps down at this stage, looking to make those charges. But for now, Matt Morris, this is a bold defense. You've got the best overtaker in split 2 looking to get past you for a victory.
That's it. Now, Matt Morris's defensive game, we haven't seen much of it on account of the fact that Craig Jones has managed to slip back so far. So this is going to be a very interesting fight for the win here in Super Split 2. You can see Dance has gained so much in those first turns of lap number 24. And now he's got the draft down the straight. So Matt Morris, he will remember what Jamie Mcknight was doing in his defense from Morris. So now Matt needs to start applying that.
He certainly does need to start applying it. There will be no opportunity yet for Cameron Dance, but look at how he picks up the run through the second half of turn number 8 into 9. Now firmly on the rear into turn number 10. He's there with popsicle sticks in the air. Pick a winner.
Yeah, well, that's something that I can't really do right now, because Matt Morris is certainly showing that he wants this victory, but Dance, he's a hard taskmaster, he is.
He is certainly a very, very hard taskmaster. Into Quebec corner then. They will come along the front two with a 3-second gap back to Craig Jones, who will consolidate his podium and consolidate a few points on the board for him. Behind that, you got Jamie Mcknight versus Gary Cooper. That one going up for the top 5. Jamie Mcknight, who was up there at the front of this field earlier on, now starting to look as if that his race is not going to work. Dance looking to pick up the run then and get the charge going down the Mario Andretti straight under the Mobil 1 signage. Now looking to try and charge, but hasn't had the best of laps when it has come to that midfield section. So now for the end of the lap, I think that Cameron Dance needs to sort himself out, needs to place himself well. Little wiggle on the brakes as he looks to angle his way through. Not going to get the power down on the exit comparatively to Morris. The lines were different. White flag comes out at Mosport. One final revolution of this 3.96 kilometer circuit, this cathedral of speed, the temple of absolute pure power and acceleration. Matt Morris, you've now got to defend off Cameron Dance, and Dance has not been close enough. Into turn number 2, not quite there just yet, and Dance is fading. Maybe the tyres are starting to fall away. Maybe he's hoping for a mistake for Matt Morris, and wide goes Cameron Dance. There could be the opportunity lost unless that Moss corner goes wrong for Matt Morris for the first time in this event. He got close, but at the moment, no cigars are going to be given. On the brakes, up the hill, inch perfect Matt Morris, and it's been a tough day for Matt Morris. He's had to try and find a way past a very defensive Jamie Mcknight. It didn't work. He went to the pit stops, and it worked out a treat. Then he's had to hold off Cameron Dance's late charge, and he has done just about that with 3 corners remaining. Don't make a mistake now, because the promised land waits for thee. Now through turn 8. There goes Dance wide. Now through turn number 9 and turn 10 awaits, because Matt Morris is going to the promised land. Matt Morris is winning and making sure Super Split 2 is his homeland.
Exactly. Fantastic drive from Matt Morris. That last lap was a textbook example of keeping your cool in the face of pressure. Meanwhile, Mcknight Cooper, actually Mcknight managed to get Cooper at the very end on the last lap, but Matt Morris, I'll tell you what, keeping you cool in the face of pressure, great example of that. And Cameron Dance just demanded a little bit too much from the tyres when they couldn't give him anything.
Yeah, a lot of pressure being amped up onto Cameron Dance there for TTL. A TTL that has been in a little bit of turmoil recently, but looking to try and find a sharper way out of it. Results? Well, let's get them up on your screen right about now. Matt Morris takes the victory then. 37 minutes and 5 seconds in the end by 0.6 of a second over Cameron Dance. Craig Jones will come home in 3rd. Steve Janssen with a quiet and respectable run to 4th, with Jamie Mcknight having pit stop troubles in 5th place. Gary Cooper getting overtaken on the final lap then in 6th. Carl Stokes will finish 7th ahead of Greg Sharp. They were battling to the line with Jacob Schooley in 9th, and Lachlan Smith rounding out 10.
Alex Greenwood is going to come home in 11th place with Wayne Taylor in 12th. Jeff Gauci comes home in 13th after that late pit stop run. Graham Filan from 25th to 14th, a great run from him. Also from Jacob Knight, 31st to 15th. Matthew Deere finishes in 16th. Greg Bennett in 17th. Grant Caines, 18th. Brenton O'Brien, what can you say? It all went wrong for him on the entry into turn 1, and he has to settle for 19th at the end of it. A real shame for him. But the top 20 is rounded out by Stacey Walker, who makes it 20th from 24th.
Well, everybody else then after that has retired from the event. Reese Keane, Adam Wyborn, Bo Albert, Benjamin Smith, Martin Casey, Damon Stockton. And now you're starting to get towards that opening lap incidents like Jason Hyde, Adrian Zelle, Jamie Peters. And then you got those 5 that all got taken out. Varga, King, Druitt, Mulqueen, and Templeton as well. Those are the 5 that got themselves caught out very, very early on. But that's an interesting way to open up proceedings here at the Virtual Racing School V8 Supercars Online Premier Series. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, fallout then from Super Split 2, and we'll be starting to gear up towards the main event here at Mosport.
"71 kilometers outside Toronto, Bowmanville, Ontario is the site of this historic venue, which in many ways is a living relic from the past. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, formerly known as Mosport, and still known as Mosport to many of us, is the oldest operating racetrack in Canada, and like few other circuits of its age, has not had its basic layout changed in any meaningful way. It's very much a racetrack of the 60s, super fast corners, smooth elevation change, and some of the most natural flow of any circuit in the world make this a sublime circuit in any category. But limited runoff and a bumpy surface amp up the difficulty to insane levels. Mosport had its beginnings in the late 1950s. At that point, Canada had only one permanent circuit that even then had only just been built, Westwood Park in British Columbia. All the rest of Canada's racetracks were either street circuits or airport venues. In 1958, with 26,000 Canadian dollars, the British Empire Motor Club purchased 450 acres of farmland outside Bowmanville, known for decades as Old Walter's Place. The BEMC formed a company to handle the construction and operation of a new racetrack. The company was called Mosport Limited, a contraction of the word motorsport. An initial design for the track was drafted in 1960, and construction soon started. While the track was being built, Grand Prix driver Sterling Moss visited the site, and upon being shown the plans, suggested a change to the Turn 5 hairpin. Moss recommended the hairpin be replaced by a sweeper flowing into a right-angled turn, and Moss Corner was born. The construction, delayed by rain and zoning issues, went way over budget, but the track soon made a name for itself upon opening in 1961. Events throughout the following decade broke many Canadian attendance records. The venue gained enough traction that it was selected as the host of the first ever Formula One Canadian Grand Prix in 1967. Mosport alternated with Circuit Mont-Tremblant in Quebec as the host of the race, but after the latter fell into financial trouble, Mosport held the race from 1971 to 1977, after which the Canadian Grand Prix moved to Montreal. Mosport still held high-level events into the 1980s, but the circuit's safety issues came to a head in 1985 when Manfred Winkelhock lost his life in a crash at Turn 2 in his Porsche 962. From that point on, most international racing began to drift away from Mosport. North American sports car racing remained though, and as the track came under new ownership in the late 90s, it was upgraded to modern standards, gaining a new pit exit and extended runoff, and most of the track being widened to 40 feet. Nowadays, Mosport remains a dearly loved circuit that is visited by many North American racing series every year, most notably the IMSA Sports Car Championship and NASCAR's Truck Series. Mosport is a fun sim racing challenge in any car, be it a high downforce screamer or a roaring, heavy V8 supercar. The track has been a regular feature on V8 schedules in the past and has always provided a real spectacle. We're sure it will do the same this weekend. Expect slipstreaming aplenty and on-edge battles.
Racing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Welcome to the party, Matt Morris. You take a victory from Super Split 2, and you take yourself to the big dance here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, a circuit which has proven to be eclectically quick, and it has seen the big incident as well. A caution came out in our Super Split 2 race and completely changed the complexity of our proceedings today. But that's not all that it's going to be about, because this race coming up could be the big game changer in terms of 64 laps worth of racing. It's going to be all about how you manage yourself, as this sort of race will look to go for a good 250. Of course, I'm hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, joined with Mr. Reese Gardner, the Southpaw racer himself. And Reese, there is more things as well than just getting out on circuit and doing your racing. There is, of course, qualifying that will be coming up in about 15 minutes' time.
Yes, indeed. And qualifying around Mosport is certainly one of sim racing's great challenges, especially in the cars that we race here in the VRS V8 Supercar Online Premier Series. Turns like Turn 2, double apex, downhill, super high load on the tires. You get even a little bit wide. It's basically your day done because you've got grass waiting for you. Unlike real life where there's tarmac there now, there's a bit of challenge remaining in iRacing's rendition of the circuit.
No, drivers need more challenge. If you're going to go offline, you should be punished with grass and tyres and absolutely getting marauded into walls. That's how sim racing should be. It should be more challenging than the real thing. But for the moment, though, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But, you know, you're looking now at track conditions at the moment here. They have amped up, I think is the right word, with 39 degrees track temperature. We're not as hot as Max Bantz just last night, but what we can certainly say is 39 degrees is still pretty hot for these vehicles as they look to try and put the power down. That tarmac will come down very, very quickly, and qualifying will be a one-lap shootout once more.
Yeah, it certainly will. You know, in every round of the series so far, I think, save for maybe one or two, we've had qualifying sessions where the initial run has been your only chance to get a lap in, and yeah, that's certainly going to be the case today, especially considering that there are so many high-load corners around here. We've got a lot of heat being generated by these cars, putting it down onto the track in the middle of those fast corners, and that, of course, amps up the gap between a fast and a slow lap time. The drivers will want to get out there as quickly as they can, find a gap, set their time, and then from that point on, I guess it's race setup testing. If you try to go for a qualifying run late in the session, you're not going to get much.
No, you're certainly not. And you now look at the championship and how difficult it can be. Jared Filsell pulling out the gap after taking the double at Oran Park, looking to get 3 in 2 weeks as he tries to get the victory here at Mosport. But this isn't your run-of-the-mill circuit, and at those quicker circuits, we've seen how Jared Filsell sometimes comes under pressure. Sometimes circuits like Phillip Island, we saw Jared Filsell wasn't 100%, but still managed to carve himself out a very, very respectable result. But here, this may be a chance for rivals to start attacking. This is, of course, a 250 race, so therefore drivers like Ethan Grigalt, his main title rival, will be looking at the fuel save very, very aggressively. And also, you have to look at, say, Madison Down, looking to try and get himself and his ring into the hat.
Yes, of course. Ethan Grigalt and Madison Down have emerged as, at this stage of the season, anyway, the only real challengers to Jared Filsell. Everyone else has had a quite patchy season, honestly, and it's been difficult to stand up to Jared Filsell, especially with the run that he had in those first few races of the season. So Ethan Grigalt and Madison Down will be ones to watch here. You know, it's been proven that Jared can be beaten this season. We saw at Phillip Island and at Watkins Glen. Incidentally, both circuits with a very high average speed, as with Mosport. So who knows? Maybe that'll factor in today.
Well, as we all know, the only way to beat Jared Filsell is to cut his brakes, Reese.
Yes.
Yes, of course, but the only place that you really need heavy brakes at Mosport is the run up into Hairpin, so it shouldn't, I don't know, hamper him too much. We'll see. In the practice session right now, Philsell is 4/10 off Jake Burton, who is on an 18.484 for his time. But Ethan Rigault, Forzan El Nabi, and Madison Down are the other occupants of the top 5. So these guys are all going to factor into it. I'm looking out for people like Dane Warren and Sam Blacklock, of course, Glenn Postlethwaite too. Glenn had some incredibly good runs, especially at Phillip Island in races previous, so I expect good things out of him in this round of the season.
Well, many people expect good things, but I've certainly put my cat amongst the pigeons, shall we say, with the latest article that has gone up on the V8SCOPS website. And of course, I feel completely justified in the way that I've been saying that quite a few drivers this season have not had the races that they have been expecting. And honestly, it comes down to performance and holding that performance over a year. I'm not sure that some drivers in this modern climate of sim racing have the ability to hold consistency for an entire calendar year. And that's what separates the good drivers, Reese, from the great drivers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to get into V8SCOPS full stop, you have to be good at wheeling a car around a track on a computer. So it's really no exaggeration to say that this series has a high level of competition. But as you said, there is a difference between good and great drivers. It's all about eking that last little bit of success and effort out of your season, and so far Jared Philsell has been the best at doing that. We've seen Madison Down get his hat in the ring in seasons past. Of course, Richard Hamstead has been an interesting story. He started off very successful, winning the test season in 2014, but this season he's fallen off the radar somewhat, as have quite a few drivers at TTL Esports. They're still a very successful and prestigious team in the Australian sim racing community, but their V8SCOPS campaign this year so far has been found wanting. But Trans-Tasman Racing, I think, have really emerged as the class of the field. Evolution Racing Team have started to challenge them as well.
Okay, question. Is Forzan El Nabi in a team that is unable to support him properly? Discuss.
Look, I'm not the kind of guy to go out and say stuff like that. I have talked to Daniel Trim, the guy who runs Performance Sim Sports, and he has big aspirations for his team. They would want to keep a driver like Forzan, I think. And, you know, I'm always a believer that it's good to stay with the team and try and build something up from that, rather than just jump to a bigger team when they cast their fishing rods out for you. And, you know, the way that it happens in this bubble, this AusNZ community bubble, is that drivers end up making a name for themselves in smaller teams, and then eventually they find themselves in a Trans-Tasman Racing or TTL or Evolution Racing Team car. Will the same happen to Forzan? I don't know. Performance Sim Sports is a team that has very quick drivers, and certainly in sports car racing they've shown their worth. In the V8 Supercar, you know, Forzan has proven that he is one of the best in their squad. I think it's hard to say at this stage, but I think if they want to keep him, then they will have to step up a bit with a few of their other drivers.
I think they certainly do, and I think also that sim racing does lack a little bit of ruthlessness from time to time. I think that it's very telling when you see that drivers that I've never known a driver to be fired from a sim racing team for poor performances. That's something I definitely might want to write an article on in the not too distant future. But we're 7 minutes away from qualifying, and well, Reese, this is a qualifying effort. You got drivers who are very good at qualifying, but sometimes fade away during the race. And that's what drivers need to get out of that mindset of. You need to go out there, you need to qualify, and you need to qualify very, very well. So now, for those who do want to qualify, they've got to make sure that track position is good, but their race pace is even better.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we saw in Super Split 2 that race pace
is certainly a factor around a track like this, because as the tires go off, as the track warms up, as I alluded to at the start of this session, the track temperature has much greater of an effect at Mosport than at some other circuits, just because the cornering speeds are so high and grip is so important. So race pace, especially after a pit stop, when the car is its freshest, when the tires are at their optimum point in terms of their tread left, their grip, etc., that's when you want to try and make the most of what you've got. Otherwise, you know, the passing at this place is hard at the best of times, and the drivers really need to make sure that if they do make a pass, it sticks, because it's very easy to ruin 2 runs at once if you try and make a move and botch it. And of course, with the grass as close to the circuit as it is in sim anyway, it certainly comes down to, well, do we want to make this pass? Do I want to yield to you, or do we want to cause a giant smash?
Yes, that certainly does seem to be the case. I do want to talk about the 5 machine, though, Luke Harvey, because I sort of don't understand his role within Trans-Tasman racing per se. So when you look at Luke Harvey, the driver, you look at what he tries to do. You look at the fact that in terms of the team dynamic for Trans-Tasman, you have the 2 to 3 great drivers that you've got. You've got Jared, you've got Madison, you've got Jake Burton up there as well. You then have those development drivers like Emily Jones and Sam Blacklock, which are arguably the future of Trans-Tasman racing. But at exactly the same time, you've got that utility tool of Kurt Stenberg, who can come in and pick up the points when everybody else is starting to struggle. So in Luke Harvey, I don't quite understand where he comes into this team. I don't quite see where his value is picked up. And I honestly have to ask myself, will Luke Harvey be happy settling for 6th, 7th best when it comes to racing like this? And will Luke Harvey be happy staying at Trans-Tasman for the next 2 years or so? Or will he decide, I want a bigger role, maybe not quite a bigger team, but I'm definitely going to get more bang for my buck?
Well, I think the way that you're looking at it, Sperry, I think is a couple of years ahead of where the series is at right now, if I'm completely honest. I mean, this is the most professional series in Australian sim racing right now. That's been a well-established fact for some time now, and this series started as a joint venture between Oceanic Sim Racing, ourselves at V8s Online, and the V8 community in providing an actual yearly championship for the best V8 supercar drivers. But there's still very much a community sense of it. There's team relationships are based on platonic relationships in many ways. Might that change in the future? Possibly. You know, if big money starts getting thrown around in a series like this among teams and drivers, then we'll see the dynamic change for sure. But I do think it comes down to, at the moment, how a driver fits in with other drivers in a team on a personal level. Of course, Luke Harvey, being the driver that he is, he was a driver for Evolution Racing Team in the past, and he left that team and became a bit of a freelance driver for some time. He's probably come into Trans-Tasman because he likes the team dynamic, and they like having him there. Of course, having another driver to take up a space on the grid and get some points, it certainly can't hurt.
Well, no, it can't hurt, but I'm just looking at it in the sense that it also doesn't leave any more room for Trans-Tasman to grow as a team. And I think that as a team, you still do need that cycle of development sometimes that comes through. Fresh faces come through the door. It's like with any team that you have. When a team becomes stagnant, aka a Ryan race team, you start struggling. You go, okay, well, these are those guys. But at some stage, you then have to do a major rebuild. And I think that Trans-Tasman may be perfectly set at the moment, but I personally, if I was an outsider looking in, which I am, I'd probably say that Luke Harvey is one of the weaker links within the team, and I don't think that's a bad thing to say from a fantastic team such as, you know, as Trans-Tasman. But I personally think that Luke Harvey needs to question himself whether he's in the right position or not, because although I don't know the answers, I can make an assumption that maybe it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you get down to it. Yes, the results are starting to pick up, but he's got to work hard because he's basically in a field impressing with 3 or 4 different others. But of course, we're just about a minute away. We've had a nice little debate there for the last 15 minutes or so there, Reese. I just wanted to get a few things off my chest. And, you know, for those who do get a little bit, you know, upset that I can, you know, talk about things like that, you have to remember that no driver is safe from criticism. No driver is safe at all. And that comes even back to people like us commentators. We're not safe from criticism either.
No, certainly not. You know, we've gotten our fair share of criticism from drivers who have messaged us after races, you know, just questioning things that we say about them. And I think that's proof of the fact that sim racing in general, as well as this series, is at a bit of a crossroads at the moment. Esports emerging as an actual industry the way that it is, and, you know, getting onto the level of some of the professional sports played in real life, I think the community is starting to grapple with the realization that with that extra level of professionalism and eliteness comes this level of critique, I suppose, and this level of speculation about what's going on behind closed doors and all that sort of stuff. I think that drivers, teams, even ourselves, we're going to have to start finding strategies to sort of deal with that and still focus on what we love doing, because this all comes from a place of love and passion, this sim racing malarkey. But in the midst of all of that, the growing esports machine, it's going to be interesting to see where it comes in the future. But qualifying is now underway, Jake, and the drivers are streaming out of the circuit trying to find that place.
And at the front is Jake Burton looking to set times. Emily Jones is always one of the first to get out, but allows Lee Ellis to make her way through. Lee Ellis, another driver who has been very, very influential throughout the working that's been done at Trans Tasman Racing, and instantly goes in front of Jake Burton because they want the draft, they want the slingshot effect to be working. You've got Ross Rizzo there for Trix Islowski. You've got Stephen Clark up there. Hello. Not really often that we get to see you there, Mr. Sandman, but there we go. A lot of unfamiliar names then starting to come out of the woodwork here at the circuit of Mosport.
Yeah, certainly. Stephen Clark, Sandman, he certainly made a name for himself in the Australian, New Zealand sim racing community for his commentary in the official V8 Supercar Series and in V8SCOPS as well. He decided to retire from that to focus on his driving, and then he decided to retire from V8SCOPS. Well, that certainly worked out well. He's back now, looking to get a bit of wheel time, just in case he gets called up for an enduro drive.
Just in case. So that just tells you all you need to know. As down onto the lane comes back Lee Ellis. He's done his job. Flying laps then come into play. Brett Loxton on pit road has to get out of the way. Everyone's on a flying lap around, and this circuit, you have to be on your game. Let's go on board then with Jake Burton as he heads through turn number 2, Clayton's corner, and looking to put the power down as early as possible, and does so now on the brakes, not using all of the circuit there on the run into Quebec, but struggling just a little bit to get the vehicle turned, not using all of the circuit on the exit either, then puts the power down, looking for this very much passing corner of turn number 4, starting to hit the brakes maybe ever so slightly, and then the big uphill on the right hand side, looking to get back onto the power as early as possible, opening up the corner as much as possible, and opened it up an absolute treat. Drivers who are behind the start finish line in their grid stalls will now start setting their times, and they will be very, very slow times. They'll be the 157s that you normally traditionally get to see with an outlap here at the track. Andrew Gillen with a 152, for example. But here comes Burton through turn number 8. He's been rattling on the power. It's been an okay lap, maybe a couple of small minor mistakes here and there, but nothing too much to shake a stick at, shall we say. But across the line, Burton will come to set the first representative flying lap, as he will charge to the first gantry in the first lap. 1:18.5, not bad.
Yeah, very nice. That puts him to provisional P1 at the moment, but he's immediately pipped by Jared Filsell and Ian Ford. Filsell with an 18.373, so certainly putting his mark on the field right now as the times continue to stream in.
There's an egg in second position now as they keep going. Muggleton then up into 5th place as times continue. Stenberg gets a big wiggle. He's trying to help Sam Blacklock get up the order. Blacklock does an 18.7. That puts him up into 5th place. Dane Warren then goes into 6th as Madison Down, the title challenger, is in 3rd position now. So putting themselves all in good place. But once again, parity resumes itself. Jared Filsell's fastest at the moment.
Yes, he certainly is, and it's looking really good for Jared at the moment, because once this initial run is over, the drivers will not have an opportunity to improve. Got a driver facing the wrong way. That's Cracknell on the front straight, so that's obviously not what he wants. I'm going to rewind and take a look at what happened to him.
I am
Revolution Racing Team. He did that on his own. Just came off the final corner, caught the grass, and the car just snapped on him.
Oh, ouch. And that's not what Michael Cracknell wanted, and that's going to really affect how the rest of this is going to go for him. No escape rule. In effect, we talk about it every single time, Reese, but basically it's to say, okay, this may be sim racing, but we do want some aspects that are like real life. For example, you're not going to disappear, get yourself a new car and get yourself back going again. Oh no, you go the old-fashioned way. You drive down into pit road, and if you can't get it back to pit road, that's it. Day done. Out the vehicle, you pop, Sonny Jim.
Yes, indeed, and that really adds a different dynamic to these sessions because so much more time is spent dedicated to building up to and then cooling down from a qualifying lap. Traditionally in sim racing, with the fact that you can just escape back to your garage at any time, a qualifying session is very much just non-stop hot lapping, bam, 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 bam. But in V8 SCOPS, you need to be very careful with how you approach your session, especially with iRacing's off-track system. You've got to have an innate knowledge of where to push, where you can take a little bit more track than usual, and where the system is going to ping you.
The drivers between 3rd and 6th are split by just 0.02 of a second. That just tells you how difficult this mid-pack is. Well, not necessarily mid-pack, but the front pack is. 4 positions split by just 0.02 of a second. Madison Down versus Dane Warren. Now Dane Warren's got to get past Jake Burton and Ian Ford if things stay like this.
Yes, and Dane Warren, he's had a very strong season in the races that he has managed to attend. Unfortunately, he did have that issue at Oran Park that really put a dent in his proceedings. But in 6th place here at Mosport, I'm sure that there's something that Dane Warren can do to try and reverse the tide. He's a real hidden gem, I think, Dane Warren at the moment. He has so much potential, he's just not able to show it all the time.
Yeah, he's just... I'd say he's a savant, Reese. He's certainly got the natural ability, and arguably he is the greatest natural sim racer in Australia at the moment. I'll say that hands down. It's just the fact that he's just unable to unlock that consistently, and I think that's what we need to see more from Dane Warren.
Yes, indeed. He's definitely got that natural ability down pat. The drivers at Trans-Tasman Racing in particular have... well, they're some of the most experienced sim racers in the world. Some of the guys at TTL have been racing since the Grand Prix Legends days in 1998. So that's one thing to consider. As I'm noticing a spinner, that's Ian Ford at Moss Corner. So he's going to have to be very careful about getting back onto the track here, not damaging his car on those walls. Well, there we go. He's just put a little bit of a dent in the rear quarter. That's a bit unfortunate for him, but the session goes on, and drivers like Madison Down, like Josh Muggleton, like Jared Filsell, who know these cars like the back of their hands, basically taking up 80, sometimes 90% of their sim racing time. They're the ones that will be watched here down going into the pits, and Filsell crossing the line once again to set an 18.52. So the track's golden period is over in this session. I think I can conclusively say.
Well, the golden period's over, but it will take now a superhuman effort to improve some times. Drivers who haven't yet set a time, well, there are only none, I believe you could say at this stage, who are looking to try and get that. Maybe Christian Hinton, the driver that's looking to find that time. But right now, a very interesting top 10 currently stands. Filsell, Greg Galt, Down, Ford, Burton, Warren, Blacklock, El Nabi, Muggleton, and Burke, your top 10. Richard Hampstead in 11th position. This is not the qualifying effort that we were expecting from him, but put this into perspective, right? He's on a 1:18.7. A better 1:18.7 would put him up in 7th position. He's only 12 thousandths off of Wayne Burke, but these are the finer margins here in V8SCOPS, the finer margins that you wouldn't have seen even a season ago. Yeah,
certainly. If that one little improvement can help Richard Hampstead, then he'll be all for it. Cracknell has set a lap. It's a 19.383, which puts him in 35th position, and I know Michael Cracknell to finish in better positions than that, so he'll want another go at a lap, and Christian Hinton has still not set a time yet.
And also, you have to remember, David Moore is down the order as well. He's expecting a lot more. There is a little bit of a shifty up forward, as there was a 1:19.360 from Brian Borg. The Bryborg puts himself now up into 35th position. Kurt Stenberg is struggling as well here in qualifying. He's down in 32nd on a 1:19.2. And let's put this into perspective. A 1:19.2, that is 9/10 of a second off of the fastest time in qualifying. That's 32nd.
Yeah, and the margins here are so tiny, especially a track here with not so much a short lap length, but a short amount of time to traverse it. Those margins really go down. And Stenberg, you know, he's usually a driver that you see in the upper midfield. I'd say from about 10th place back has been his traditional stomping ground. So to find him outside the top 30 at this stage is a little abnormal. We'll see what he can do in the second half of the session. We are just ticking over 10 minutes right now of this session, so 10 minutes remaining. And Stenberg, well, he's running out of time, because an entire run will take, I think, the better part of 5 minutes to complete.
Well, that's coming in, getting your tyres coming back out again, setting 2 flying laps, and then coming back in heavy over the curb through the final corner. And Stenberg struggling, does a 1:19.280, so that time is not quick enough, but he's certainly in and around it. He's behind the Gene Finnis, who runs off at Moss Corner. And now PRA have their own issue. Brady Myers has gone to TTL. Who steps up?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Gene Finnis is quite the driver himself, I think. He's certainly shown his worth in the past, but you know, PRA losing Brady Myers, I think that's a real blow. I mean, it's an amicable parting, certainly. You know, they're a good bunch of guys at PRA, and they certainly don't hold it against Brady. And Brady was glowing in his assessment of his team when he announced that he was leaving. But still, not having a driver like Brady Myers in your ranks will certainly hurt their chances. We'll see what they can do, though. We'll definitely see what they can do.
Wow.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Put this into this, right? We've got Jared Filsell in first, right? We've got Madsen down third, Jake Thurston fifth, Sam Blacklock seventh, Josh Muggleton is in ninth position. That is one side of the grid for the first 5 rows, all being filled up by Trans-Tasman machines.
I don't think I've seen that before in a V8SCOPS event. That's quite the stat, I think, that will go down towards the end of the season. I tell you what, though, Evolution Racing Team too, taking up 2nd and 4th. That will make for a good first 2 rows. Linus Stern Trans-Tasman Racing and Linus Stern ERT. I'm looking forward to seeing how that one turns out.
Well, it will, if anything goes from the first race, and when we saw Brenton O'Brien on pole, it might run into a couple of fireworks, but I definitely don't expect Ethan Griggold to be in that similar sort of position. But Evolution Racing Team themselves have come under a lot of fire recently, losing a lot of their Australian-based drivers. Bo Albert, you talk about the likes of Scott Lardock, Simon Feigl, who was massively instrumental in Evolution Racing Team and their success on the latter half of last year. Do you feel that Evolution Racing Team have struggled from increasing their driver pool too much and thus alienating their drivers?
Oh, look, I mean, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors in that team. I don't think that we can make statements like the Australian drivers have been alienated or anything like that. I mean, you know, it may well be the case, but we honestly don't know. And from what I could see, for the most part, from the likes of Albert and Feigl, the parting was amicable. You know, of course, we don't know what's gone on. So, I mean, Evolution Racing Team looking towards the future, they do still have a good Australian contingent. They have the likes of Ethan Griggold and Ian Ford, Jake Blackhall as well. You know, those guys will definitely be instrumental to ERT's Australian successes. But their current growing European driver pool, they've made no secret that they want to go from being an Australian team to an international sim racing team. They've certainly done that. And I mean, the losing of some of their Australian contingent, I don't think that they will suffer too much. Their representation of V8SCOPS may well be down, but they still have that pace. They still have those top positions that the likes of Ethan and Ian are fighting for.
Well, they're fighting very, very hard for them right now. Second and fourth, Jake Blackhall in position 13 as well, in a very good place. Synergy haven't really turned up today at the moment. They got Glenn Postlethwaite in 15th position, and that's about it. No Brenton Hobson for this one, so a lot of issues coming up then for Synergy. They've not got the set today.
Well, Wayne Burke, having said all of that, is currently in 10th spot, so that's one driver from Synergy Sim Racing that will certainly be flying the flag well and truly. Synergy actually bringing out a couple of new liveries for this round. Well, I don't say new, but certainly different from what they usually run. Trackstar Racewear and also Cartel Company making appearances on their cars. Of course, Cartel Company being run by a member of Synergy Sim Racing, Bo Cattell. So that's made for quite the interesting look for their cars in this particular round of the event. And Wayne Burke currently in 10th. We'll see what he can do from there. He's about to cross the line for another lap, a 19.524. So I think this might be race runs at the moment. Either that or the track has really gone downhill.
Well, free practice certainly there, and of course there are always a lot of changes, and those changes could have massive effects. We are running in week 13. This is what is known as the build testing week. And Reese, how does the build test week 13, affect a driver's mentality going into a race, knowing that maybe the sim isn't quite at 100% optimization? Maybe they have to deal with a few things that weren't as forthcoming in, say, the last week of running that they had at Oran Park.
Well, you've got to think about also the fact that we have made the V8SCOPS and official V8 Supercar schedules align when there is a V8 SCOPS round on. If there's a SCOPS round, then the track for that week of official will be the same circuit. Since it's week 13 and there's no official racing on, Mosport is a track that a lot of the drivers who use official to practice have not had the opportunity to get that in-race experience that they would usually have, or you know, that extra bit of testing versus other drivers that they may not be racing against. So Mosport falling on a week 13, it would certainly put the stoppers on a few drivers' race weekends, but you know, these guys are very used to the V8 Supercar. They know how to drive around it. They know their way around a lot of these circuits, and I think one thing that sets the best V8 Supercar drivers apart from a lot of other drivers that you see on iRacing is they are adaptable. If they're fast in the V8 Supercar, they will be fast in just about anything that they run, because the car requires such a precise and obsessive monitoring of all of your inputs. So the race falling when it does, I don't think it's particularly relevant in this sort of stage, but in terms of the build, I think with a couple of bugs, if there are a couple of bugs yet to be ironed out in a new build, then it certainly has an effect on the championship.
It certainly could do, but of course a massive break coming after Mosport. It's going to be a 4-week wait for the next round of the championship be it Laguna Seca or Belle Isle, whichever one gets the go-ahead. It will be a race which a lot of drivers have their eye on in the calendar and want to see calendar changes happen, but that is down to management to sort that out. For the moment, though, the 2-minute warning comes along in qualifying. If anybody can find some gem with the conditions on circuit right now, they're going to go for it. You've got Lee Ellis, Luke Harvey, Madison Down, all in a train, working together here to try and get a better lap time.
Yes, indeed. Luke Harvey down in 18th place, and Lee Ellis, where is Lee? He's in 15th place. So these guys currently down in the mid-pack, and these guys are non-development Trans-Tasman drivers, so they would be expecting themselves to be a bit higher up. The likes of Emily Jones and Kurt Stenberg will, you know, I wouldn't say you expect less of them, because that would be disingenuous to say. I think if they are development drivers at Trans-Tasman Racing, they are expected to do reasonably well, but you do expect them to be behind the sort of main team guys. And I guess this effort here by Ellis and Harvey to try and jump up the field is a way of just saying, look, you know, we're performing a bit underneath what we probably should be. We're going to try and get up the order a bit.
Well, they are going to try and get up the order. Emily Jones has been struggling in qualifying all day long. She hasn't had the one-lap pace. She was 39th when it came to pre-qualification, and she's currently in 22nd at the moment behind Andrew Gillum in the 2:01. But 20 seconds remain then to get a time in, and now this is where the worry comes in. I think Grigalt will be able to go one more, and shall. So Ethan Grigalt needs everything to work out in favour, as now one final lap will open up for Ethan Grigalt. We're going to stay with this one then. This is important. 18.4 to beat, but it's going to be a massive task if that happens. Flag comes out with checkers all over it into turn number 2 for Ethan Grigalt. Desperately trying to put the power down, and it seems almost sluggish at this stage, really having to lift off of the power because there is just no more grip left in terms of the circuit. It's just getting slower and slower and slower through 3, and now looking towards turn number 4, looking to try and do everything to get in a final good lap, maybe scare a few drivers around. But now up on the brakes into 5, into Moss, which is now also turn 6 as well, and now looking to put the power down. Small little kink there of turn number 7 will come along as well, and now you're starting to make that run down the Mario Andretti straight, 220 kilometers an hour, then to 230. You keep going, 240 kilometers an hour, and still 250. Keep going, 260 as he looks to try and find his braking marker at 264 on the brakes into the right-hander, and that will be more when the draft comes into play. Through the right, lefts and rights will look to come up as well, and I think for Ethan Grigalt, it's a dive onto pit road. He will not go quicker, no one will. Grid as follows. Jared Filsell then pole position for the number 1, and are we really surprised? 118.373, a good 600ths of a second quicker than Ethan Grigalt in second, with Madison Down in third. Ian Ford will start from 4th position with Jake Burton in 5th. Dane Warren 6th position with Sam Blacklock, the 4th Trans-Tasman machine in an odd number in 7th, with Forzan Elnabi 8th, Josh Muggleton the 5th in 9th, and then you see Wayne Burke rounding out 10th for Synergy.
Richard Hamstead in 11th place, the top TTL SimSport esports driver in the field at the moment. Ethan Warren, again for All-Star, in 12th. ERT's Jake Blackhall in 13th, with Chris Robinson in 14th. Lee Ellis rounding out the top 15. Glenn Postlethwaite and Michael Schreier, Synergy Sim Racing there in 16th and 17th, with Luke Harvey in 18th, 19th. Cooper Webster, Ross Rizzo for Trick Sim Sports, rounding out the top 20 in car number 784.
We're going to be very, very quick now with our next ones. Emily Jones will start from, Andrew Gillum will start 21st, Emily Jones 22nd. Then you've got Hinz and Taliancic on row 12. Row 13, we'll see Sislowski and an improved Kurt Stenberg. Ryan O'Sullivan and Michael Cracknell will go on row 14 for Evolution Racing Team, with row 15 seeing Will Dodd and Bruce Kiley.
31st is Riley Blythe, with Scott Larnack in 32nd, Gene Fiddies in 33rd, Matt Muggleton in 34th position, with Luke Page 35th, 36th and 37th is David Moore and Brian Borg. Stephen Sandman Clark in 38th, 39th is
Brett Loxton. Bob King rounds out the top 40, and the final driver on the grid, courtesy of his Split 2 win, Matt Morris.
Matt Morris then rounds off 41, and the pressure is most certainly going to be on for drivers here today. Trans-Tasman have the inside for the front 5 rows, but holding it around the outside has been the challenge today. The track is hotter than what it was earlier on. That makes going around the outside even more difficult than it was before. But Mosport, well, you need to understand that Mosport is always going to be a challenge. It doesn't matter where you are, up or down in this field, anything can happen. And in the words of Murray Walker, it normally does as well. But for Ethan Grigalt, he knows that he's got to keep the championship alive, as does Madison Down. Jared Filselm, that white #1 machine, has just been walking away race on race on race. It's been wins and seconds only for the moment, but it could be so much more when you get right down to it. 2 minutes then looks to expire, on the clock. The iRacing gantry then will light up 64 laps at Mosport. Is underway, and it's a slow start for Madison Down and Ian Ford. Burton will get a good start then from the 3rd row as they dive down into turn #1. Dane Warren trying to get past Ford as well, and does so. Whole shot for Jared Filsell, exactly what he wanted to see as they start jostling it out for positions in the middle of the pack into Clayton's corner. Turn #2, no contact, but a big push on the outside for Wayne Burke as he's under pressure. That's Forzan El Nabi under pressure with Josh Muggleton, and goes down the inside. Almost a bit of contact between the two. Warren goes wide, Warren goes wide as well, and there goes through Ian Ford.
Yes, indeed. So that's a much cleaner start than we saw in Split 2. And Forzan El Nabi versus Wayne Burke coming into Moss looks quite interesting. Richard Hampstead, oh goodness me, Richard Hampstead just catching the grass on the outside of Moss. Very well recovered, and he's managing to get the traction down very nicely. And fast past Ethan Warren, there's a kart round in the background. That is Lee Ellis, and that is at a very slow place on the circuit. Ellis is just going to jump back onto the circuit, nice and easy, but with a very bad spot in the field.
Yeah, very bad spot. Right to the back of the train goes Lee Ellis. Not ideal at all. But at the front, it's now Burton attacking teammate Madison Down. Remember, the pair of them lead the Constructors' Championship together. They've been very well worked. Jake Burton, 7th in the championship. Madison Down in 3rd. They've made a very good partnership together, and they're looking to try and take that team's championship, especially when it comes to the Enduro stage of the season. For Jared Filsell, though, pressure could good time. Ethan Grigalt will sit within 2/10 and save fuel, and arguably this is one of the easier circuits to follow behind another driver.
It certainly is. You've got corners with very fast entries and corners that flow right into each other. Not much use of the brakes required through the opening section of the track, so this is the perfect circuit for the drivers, Ethan Grigalt and Ian Ford, to do their usual fuel-saving strategy. We'll see how it works out for them. Looking a bit further back in the top 10, though, I'm noticing that they're really starting to cram up in the realm of Forzan El Nabi, Wayne Burke, Josh Muggleton, etc.
Yes, they are, and they're wanting to try and get positions very early on here in this one. This isn't a sprint, this is more of a marathon, so you've got to make sure that you pace yourself here in the 250s. Muggo looking to try and get past Wayne Burke, and, well, for Wayne Burke, door slightly half ajar, but no real opportunity to go and make that move. They've got to stay with Dane Warren, though, to Sam Blacklock, because Blacklock is at the front of this train with Forzan El Nabi just behind. Any move that will happen is going to rely on the young Australian's pace of Blacklock. Blacklock understands what he's got to do, but Forzan El Nabi is desperate to find a good result at some stage in this season.
Yeah, certainly. It's been a season of what-ifs, I think, for Forzan, and if he wants to start turning his season around, this is the time. I tell you what, it's going to help them that Ian Ford and Dane Warren are starting to come together in front of them. This may very well bring them into contention. I think from Forzan's perspective, we know he's a driver who likes to employ the fuel-saving strategy as well. He needs to be careful. Sam Blacklock almost going for... No, sorry, Josh Muggleton almost going for the move, as El Nabi is actually alongside Blacklock on the exit of Moss.
Oh, he's really hungry for this position. Is he going to be smart about it, though?
Yeah, he's going to try and be snide, and he's going to try and make the move. So here's Forzan looking to go underneath, trying to pick the pocket, and he tried picking the pocket, and the pocket wasn't picked. He had made sure that he locked that one up. As behind that there, Burt gets a little bit of a tap from Muggleton as he looks to try and get through. Great scrapping in the middle of this pack, whilst just in front, Dane Warren still desperately tries to find a way past Ian Ford in the Holden, but unable to really find anything to work. There was a chance, that was the chance that we saw in Super Split 2, where maybe Matt Morris should have tried that sort of move against a certain Jamie Mcknight, but that didn't work. So Forzan Al-Nabi, opportunity didn't quite work.
No, it certainly didn't, but you can tell, like, he's making a mistake here. Meanwhile, a drive-through penalty for Andrew Gilliam, Glenn Postlethwaite, and Gene Fitties. So all three drivers getting a drive-through penalty. Oh, El Nabi made a mistake. And there we go, that's Paul Burke alongside into turn 2. He
contact!
Sorry, ouch! Certainly not what you want. But
and he holds it together. Wow. And now here comes Hampstead picking the pocket. 3 wides. They go through. Muggleton gets the tap. Holds it together. And now look at this. Take your chances then. Pick up. 3 wide in the back. And now it's about pick your lane. Blackall trying to get into the mix. Wayne Burke's dropped back. Got Chris Robinson trying to get aggressive here. Ethan Warren now. Hampstead defending this massive trade. As now it's pick your lane. Pick your chance. Now pick your poison as they go side by side. Hampstead still trying to hold the inside against Josh Muggleton. Has the outside though for turn number 9. They sort themselves out just about. No, there's contact there for Blackall, and that's going to allow Wayne Burke back through with the push to pass. But that so easily could have ended in absolute anarchy.
It certainly could have, but you know what's happened? This has unleashed Forzan El Nabi. It's actually worked out very well for him. He has no pressure from behind now. So with that little tap on Wayne Burke, he set into motion a chain of events that leaves all of these drivers fighting for the same bit of track. Meanwhile, El Nabi up ahead, no worries. I'm just going to keep chasing down Sam.
I'm going to keep chasing down Sam. I will correct myself, a New Zealander who has moved to Australia. Of course, I'm still quite new to a few of the drivers, so my apologies there on that mistake. He'll now be a little bit on his own. Eyes on Dane Warren, though, behind Ian Ford. That's about as close as I've seen him get to the rear as he looks to try and get that power down, but it's just a better accelerating machine right now from Ian Ford. Dane Warren does not have the ability to go out there and make that move, and for the All-Star Motorsports machine, setup is vital, and I don't think Dane Warren's got it perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. He looks like he is struggling a little bit. He's managed to maintain that inside line through the third last turn. Have a look. Ian Ford is staying off those curbs, but Dane is climbing all over them, trying to just get a bit of a line of sight, try and make that move. But he's just not getting it done right now. Ian Ford looks very comfortable there in his defensive driving at the moment.
Well, it was a 19.9 and a 19.8 respectively. You look further forward, they're doing 19.4s and 19.6s. So they've got to do something here, and Dane's got to do something to keep himself in a good position right now. Look at the train, though, that falls back behind Richard Hampstead. You've got Muggleton, Warren, Robinson, Burke, Blackall, Harvey, Hinz, Jones, and you've got Taliangic and Rizzo. There's a couple of moves looking. Hinz was trying to get past Harvey. That's not working. And Wayne Burke and Jake Blackall going at it, and Blackall gets revenge.
Yeah, he certainly does, and wow, this pack of cars is 100% out at the moment. Incredible racing going on right now. Further back, Luke Page versus Cooper Webster going side by side into turn 4. Meanwhile, Ford and Warren, it's the side-by-side run. He's got it. He's got the inside run here, has Dane, but can Ian hold it around the outside? He can. Warren had to duck out.
Yeah, that was a very well shut door. It takes a lot of confidence in the driver you're fighting against to make a move like that. And Ian Ford made sure of it as he held off Dane Warren for one more lap at the end of lap number 6. Your front 4 have not necessarily broken away from each other. A good gap of about half a second between each of them at the moment. Phil Sell, Greg Galt, Down, and then Burton, your top 4 as things stands, with the gap starting to creep up away. Josh Muggleton under pressure. Here's Ethan Warren trying to get into the mix then, into turn number 2. Not going to happen. We did also note that Emily Jones lost a position to Michael Taliangic, so she, with a massive slide at Moss, lost that one extra position.
Yes, she did, and looking like, well, she's actually up on where she started. So it's some successes being had for Emily Jones right now, but she's still mired in this mid-pack that is absolutely, there's no prisoners being taken as Ford and Warren once again coming out of Moss here. Dane is in the slipstream of Ian, and Ian will have seen that Warren would have gone for that inside line, but I'll tell you what, if Dane doesn't have the setup sorted, Ian Ford certainly does. He knows exactly where to place that car, and coming into this final sequence of turns, you can see Dane, he isn't quite able to try and find a space to make the move, climbing all over the curbs once again.
Well, climbing over curbs sometimes has to be the only way you can start peering like a periscope, trying to make those moves, but the gap at the front opens now 0.8 of a second, and Burton and Blackhall, well, we're looking at Blackhall right now, Burke and Blackhall, sorry, as Burke down to the inside, holding the position, but Blackhall trying to get the up and under, not going to happen. There's Luke Harvey waiting in the wings, as well as Thomas Hinds, trying to get a piece of the pie, but the pie currently is a bit too hot, don't get involved, as in front of them, Robinson looking to attack Ethan Warren here in the run to Quebec turn 3, not going to get the chance, door open on Muggleton though, taking a much different line to get the run off the exit.
Yes, indeed. Coming into Moss, that's going to be, well, you think it's a prime opportunity to make an overtaking move, but it often turns out to not be the case. It's off the exit of Moss where a lot of passes are actually set up, just because the amount of traction that you can put down there varies so much depending on how you enter the corner. So no change in this train at the moment, but I tell you what, Ethan Warren, oh goodness me.
Dane goes high, can't make the move, and well, he's trying every which way to get past Ian Ford, and well, he'll be hoping that Ian Ford is just, you know, a little bit more quicker, because he feels he's got the pace to get by and then get up to Jake Burton just in front. The gap now at 2 seconds, so they're starting to just equalise their times a little bit more, as Jared Filsell, the only driver now inside the 119 range. But still though, it's been about patience here when it comes to these overtakes. The waiting game has certainly been a key factor, especially down the back of the field, like Michael Schreier, Ryan O'Sullivan, Bob King, all in this scrap for the 30th positions onwards.
Yes, indeed. There's racing all throughout the field here, and you need to, you can't exactly write off any of the drivers outside the top 30. They've certainly got their fair share of talent. And, oh, Warren versus Ford. I'm sorry to take your attention away from those guys, but Warren almost tapping the back of Ian Ford coming through Moss. You can tell he is hungry, but Ian Ford is still not letting him have it.
Anybody got a red shell? I think he wants to get by, so goes for the nothing. He went for the nothing, as he now big move down to the inside. That's bold. That's brave, Dane, and I think he's got it covered. What a great defensive moment, but he would have taken a little bit more out of the tyres by the way that he would have smashed that brake pedal. He did well to check it up, but Dane Warren now up into 5th.
Good job there from Dane. That was a nice, aggressive, assertive pass there on Ian Ford. And I think that may have been strategic by Ian to maybe just let him have that position, because as it stood, Ian had no one in front of him, so he couldn't do any fuel saving of his own. Maybe now he takes this opportunity.
Luke Harvey through on Jake Blackhall, Thomas Hinds waiting in the wings as well. This is the lower half for your top 20. You got Stenberg on the back of this train in 21st, Zlowski, Rizzo, Jones, Taliangic, all in that mix, all looking to try and pick up points. Early stages, that's your feeling out stage. You're looking to try and find moves. The gap extends over a second for the first time for Jared Filsell. And now Ethan Griggold fights the machine, because Down and Burton want to get a little bit annoying here for the Egg. The Egg now getting under pressure. Can you crack or can you not?
Certainly, it's there's no chance that he'll get scrambled though, because Ethan is a driver with a lot of composure and experience under his belt, and you know, Madison Down is another one of those drivers, and I'm sure that they will 100% show respect to each other out here on track. But respect doesn't necessarily translate when the stakes are so high for second place. But I think it's early stages though. We still have that first pit stop phase yet to come.
We do. We're on lap 10. No cautions have come out as one dives down onto the lane. That's Wayne Burke. And right on cue, pit windows open, but Burke's probably going to go for a short stop early here, try and get himself out on an alternative strategy. It will work for track position because he'll get fresher tyres, Reese, but more crucially than that, he will be on older tyres come the end of this race, and that is going to hurt the Wayne Burke strategy.
Yeah, it certainly will. Wayne's already away. That was a very short pit stop. Actually looked like he didn't take tyres. So, might be just going long here on these tyres and get a fresh set at the very end.
Well, it's a bold strategy call, but if he's going to go for it, he's going to have to commit to it because you can't have any second chances. Madison down, though. Keep an eye on this because he is right up underneath Ethan Griggolt. Not close enough to make the move into the prime overtaking opportunity of 8. Open the corner for 9. No, not going to find that either. So looking to just be a nuisance. Pick it up for 10. No, not going to quite get there either. So Madison down. Just running a little bit wide there. Gives a few tenths back to Ethan Griggolt. Could have just given the run for the next lap as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As I alluded to before, Mosport is all about momentum. You need to maintain a good average speed throughout an entire lap around here. As meanwhile, Ian Ford has actually fallen back from Dane Warren and is under pressure from Sam Blacklock. Where's that come from?
A horrible lap from Ian Ford. That's the response at 121.3 that last time by. So a big struggle. 8 tenths of a second slower than his lap previous. I think Ian Ford is really struggling. So Blacklock will want to try and get through as quickly as he can. On the brakes up into Moss, not quite close enough, but trying to pick up a run sideways. There was a lot of correction and oversteer there from Sam Blacklock. That's got to be something that he manages a bit more. Back to Madison down, though. Opportunity for second position knocking here on lap 12 of 64. We're looking towards 1/4 distance in this event as down. Thinking about the inside, isn't close enough to get the move. He's thinking about it when you're about a car length, if not a little bit less behind. You're certainly thinking about making a move. He just can't. Or can he?
Oh, hang on a minute. Stuck the nose in, almost contact between himself and Ethan Griggolt, but Madison just backed out at the last second there and allowed Ethan to track through the corner. So that right there is a possible move. As Ian's headset went flat, we're hearing. Ian Ford had no audio, so that will certainly put you at a disadvantage when, you know, you're listening so much to, audio feedback. Dane Warren also with forced feedback issues, so goodness me, drivers starting to have hardware come into the equation.
Oh, it certainly is. It seems that there's some issues there for Ian Ford. He can't hear a single thing. Power steering troubles for Dane Warren as well. It's going to be like driving without any feeling of the road in front, and that for Dane Warren's not going to be ideal. And if you get word of that, if you're Sam Blacklock, you hear, okay, he's got no audio. He has only his vision, his sight that he's got to go with. Right now, Sam Blacklock, this is where Trans-Tasman say, okay, now you start attacking here because he is certainly struggling.
Oh, Madison, there we go.
Oh,
Move done, he's through. But will Ethan try and come back? He's going to try and stay to the inside. Is he going to try and fire it back up? No, he's not.
And Burton comes in.
Going for the pits.
Well, that's a strategic call from Jake Burton. He wants the undercut to work in his favour, and Ethan Griggolt now behind Madison down. Crucial for the championship as well. Remember, Madison down needs as many points as he can get. Getting ahead of Ethan Griggolt will be fantastic and will cause a good swing in the battle for second position overall. Big wiggle from Ian Ford through turn number 1, allows Blacklock to close up a little bit further. You've also got Chris Robinson still on the back of Josh Muggleton here, still looking to push. And Chris Robinson, you know, it was a very underrated qualifying performance from him, position 14 up to 12th. I think he'll be happy with this at the moment.
Yeah, he will. Redback Racing team have really stepped it up in these last few rounds with a bit of a consolidation of their V8 program at the start of the year. So it's at the start of last year, sorry, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Oh, goodness me.
Goodness me, Sam Blacklock, how close do you want to get to the rear of Ian Ford? That was Not even a piece of paper. I think you could probably fit an atom in between them. That's how close they were. So definitely a lot to keep an eye on. And also, Forzan El Nabi's waiting in the wings as well. If he gets involved, then Ian Ford may be under a little bit of pressure as things stand. Your leading three stay out. Jake Burton's alternative strategy will be just that, alternative, just for the moment. So for now, Ian Ford under pressure. Sam Blacklock trying everything he can to get through this battle going on, as well as Ethan Warren versus Richard Hampstead.
Yes, indeed. Ethan Warren versus Richard Hampstead happening at the moment, and Jake Burton will be falling down the order on the timesheets as he slots back into the race proper. They're looking fairly stable at the moment, but I'm still looking at that battle between Sam Blacklock and Ian Ford. Of course, Ian only having visual and wheel feedback to guide him around at the moment, so Blacklock is really smelling blood right now. Problem is, he's got Forzan El Nabi to worry about now.
Yes, he does, and Forzan, who has been involved in an incident already today, the big checkup with Wayne Burke, wants to get moving and moving cleanly through the field. No other alternatives are required. Looking at where drivers have come out then, we've seen Thomas Hinds coming, Cooper Webster down in on the lane as well. But those who have pitted, the likes of Wayne Burke, Jake Burton, Burton now hits the traffic. He's got to get past Will Dodd, Brian Borg, Ryan O'Sullivan, Brett Loxton and Matt Morris later on down the line. So that's what you have to deal with. There's traffic to deal with when you're racing hard and you're on an alternative strategy.
Yeah, certainly. You gotta be really careful of how traffic will end up affecting your run, because that's something that can really smash your motivation as a driver when you think, oh well, I'll pit early, get a bit of an undercut. Whoa, hang on a minute. Jake Blackhall and Emily Jones side by side coming through turn one. Have a look at Ross Rizzo trying to get in on this as well. Almost contact between them. Will Ross fire it up the inside? Oh,
he tried.
Yeah, door just shut in time by Jake Blackhall, but this looks like a very interesting four-car battle right now. Jones, Blackhall, Rizzo, and Kozlowski. Goodness me, they're all sliding through Quebec.
Oh, well, if you slide through Quebec, you'll find Montreal in a little bit later on. But for now, Jones holds station and she leads this little pack. Kozlowski trying everything to get on Ross Rizzo. And that trick, well, it's not just a trick up his sleeve. It seems that he's got an entire catalogue of slides that he can go with his repertoire as Blackwell doesn't get the best run off the exit. Ross Rizzo now, opportunity knocks as he goes to the outside looking for the move and trying to get the power, but it equalizes and Rizzo's trying everything, but it's always leaning to the driver on the inside to try and make that move, over speed or not. To the outside, he still looks and won't be able to get the move unless he picks up the run. Bit of a bump there to Blackhall, and just about maintaining things as things stand between them. Hampstead is in, as is El Nabi.
Yep, so there we go. More drivers in the top 10 taking their stops. So now we've got to think about where they're going to come out in the midst of all of this, but the on-track battles are still raging on. You can tell that Rizzo really wants this position here from Blackhall, and picking up the throttle in the middle of the third last corner is a viable strategy. Oh, he didn't get the best run out of turn two though, did Rizzo. Kozlowski is starting to smell blood now as well. Riley Blythe is starting to catch up to these guys because they're slowing each other up.
They are slowing each other up, so now Riley Blythe is thinking blood in the water, and look at where Hampstead has come out in comparison here. Richard Hampstead is behind Michael Taliancic, which is not going to be helpful, but crucially ahead of the likes of Kurt Stenberg. But Velnabi, for example, is massively behind Wayne Burke, who's got that example perfectly done, and a country mile behind Jake Burton. Those tyres, 120.1s we're seeing, the likes of Jared Filsell doing 20.2s at the moment, just showing his pace, but it's still a 1/10 of a second a lap, so Filsell will be trying to cover off that, but it's more rather Madison and Ethan who have to be worried as they're losing 3/4 of a second a lap to a driver trying to make overtakes.
Yeah, well, they'll have to look at pitting soon, I'm sure, as we're hearing Rizzo is in the pits right now, but Down and the Eggman, they're going to have to think about jumping into the pits sometime soon, get themselves some fresh rubber, because I honestly don't know how they're going to go in the midst of all of this. Sam Blacklock and Ian Ford, though, still involved in quite a fight here for 5th and 6th. Coming into Moss corner. Blacklock very aggressive on corner entry. Once again, Ian, just making sure that he's concentrating on the exit. Oh, not successful that time, though. That ERT car doesn't seem to like the bumps on the exit.
No, and well, if they're thinking about putting Belle in, then he'll certainly not like the bumps. I'll say that for a fact. So right now, Blacklock still closing. Big power move to the inside, and it will be given by Ian Ford, looking to try and get the up and under, but will be nowhere near. So Sam Blacklock comfortably makes the move, and Ian Ford will not fight it. And just like that, Blacklock decides to come down onto pit road, make that stop, and that is going to be disastrous for Ian Ford, who lets him through.
Yeah, certainly will. He's just thinking, well, that's a bit of time I lost that I didn't really need to. So Blacklock, I think that will have helped the mental situation. Blackhall and Kozlowski, though, coming through turn 1. Oh, barely a sheet of paper you could fit between those cars as they went through turn 1. So Blackhall losing a position there to Kozlowski, and have a look at Riley Blythe. He's really caught these guys up. A very good drive from him so far, but once he actually catches up to these guys, which he has by now, will he be able to maintain that pace?
Well, will he indeed. So for Riley Blythe, he's got to keep on trucking. He's maybe the quicker man than his teammate. No team orders at Evolution Racing Team, so we certainly could see a nice little scrap happen. We'll just have to wait and see on that little pack, but still, pit window most certainly open. Traffic now starting to play a little bit of a factor then for your race leaders, likes of Jared Filsell, Madison Down, Ethan Griggolt. They all have to get around drivers. We've seen Scott Larnach get dispatched, same with Andrew Gillum as well. So keep an eye, keep your head on a swivel. Lap traffic has always played a factor in any race that has ever existed.
Yes, indeed. Ethan Grigolt's actually fallen back a fair way from Madison Down here, so I'm unsure what's gone on. That's quite interesting. I think he might have had a bad experience with the lap traffic as they've made their way past Gilliam.
They have. Ethan Warren also on pit road in the number 59 machine, looking to get his first of 2 services done on lap 20 and looking to try and get out and going again as quickly as possible. So for Ethan Warren, he's looking to come out around the likes of, say, Wayne Burke, maybe even a certain Richard Hampstead. There's Sam Blacklock going by. There's Richard Hampstead going by. Stenberg goes past, as does Josh Muggleton. So for Ethan Warren, that's not brilliant, but he's ahead of Luke Harvey. He's ahead of Chris Robinson. That's going to be where he wants to be.
Yeah, certainly is. He's got a fresh car too, so those tyres would have had a bit of an opportunity to cool down if he hasn't changed them. So good position there for Ethan Warren, and Blackhall and Blythe were taking a look at the moment. Of course, these are teammates. They won't want to race each other too hard. They've got a team result to think about, but Blythe is showing that he wants to get past.
He does want to get past, but at the moment the answer is no. So no being the answer, he looked to go down to pit road, and they both go on to pit road. So battle of pit crews, hello, here we go.
Yes, indeed. So this will be interesting. Oh, Blythe, goodness me. I don't think he realized that his pit bay was so close to the entry.
Well, he's in.
Yeah, he's in, but at a very odd angle. So how is he going to get himself out of this fix? He'll have to put the steering wheel all the way over to the left-hand side to even have a hope of getting out of that bay. If not, just spin up his tyres.
Oh, he does well. He does well. He probably took out 5 or 6 crews waiting on the side to get through as well, and that's only going to hurt his run because Blackhall's going to have a much better lane-to-lane time now because of that. So very good stop from Jake Blackhall. Riley Blythe did well to recover, but it's those fine margins that cost you sim races. Yes, they're not fighting for the race victory, but for someone like Jared Filsell, for example, that's the last thing that he would want to see happen, is that he runs into an issue like that. Still no takers then from your leading 3. They're going to run the tank dry and go again. Expect Ethan Griggolt and Ian Ford to go a little bit further when it comes to the fuel.
Yes, of course. You got to remember that Jared does not have anyone in front of him to try and save fuel on, or use as a tool to save some fuel. Madison and Ethan, they are still they're a bit far apart for fuel saving to come into it, but they're still, having been embroiled in a battle of their own for most of the race as Emily Jones comes in. They will want to make sure that that run continues.
And Emily Jones looking to make that stop and get a full tank. A fuel tank? Well, she definitely wants a fuel tank, but she wants a full tank of fuel as well. Lap 21 to lap 22 is also coming down onto the lane. It's Luke Page in the 535 machine looking to try and make that stop. Long stop then for Emily Jones. She will just about get going. She'll be behind Chris Robinson by a fair margin. Jake Blackhall will be looking to come around, as will Riley Blythe, who both came in and made a stop, and Emily Jones wants to be out ahead of that. There goes Blackhall. That's not going to be ideal. And Riley Blythe and Matt Muggleton coming up with Stephen Clark. Oh, hello, Sandman. Didn't notice you there in 27, but still out and away. Emily Jones side by side almost into Clayton's corner.
Yep, she manages to cover it. Meanwhile, Matt Morris and Jake Burton are involved in a battle right now. Remember, Matt Morris is running very long here. He's found himself up in 8th position, has not taken his stop yet. Jake Burton, one of the first to blink, and he's looking to make a move here into the last section of corners, and Matt Morris is not going to make that too difficult for him, I would assume. Oh,
no, he's going to make it tough.
He certainly
will. Outside.
Oh,
contact! And there's the hip check from Jake Burton, and Burton gets a tap from Morris. Morris maybe didn't need to make that fight, but he has every right to be battling for position with Burton.
Yeah, certainly. I also think that maybe Jake could have afforded to stay a little bit more to the right. I mean, you've got to weigh up the chances here, don't you? It's I mean, you got to think about the context as well. Burton is out of position here. Morris is out of position too. So each of these guys has just got to make sure that they don't interfere with each other's races too much. And that incident, I think, might be a little bit of a wake-up call to both of them. Hey, you guys are actually battling here for positions that don't really matter in the long run. So I don't know, maybe just let each other go.
Oh, he's going to give him the check. And now he's going to put the power down. And now he's going to push him in the grass. No love between these two. Not a rivalry you want to push out. Come on, Scarlett Pimpernel, Jake Burton. Get your pompadour ready and get yourself together, because that was very much costing him the entirety of his race. I expect this now to put him behind Greg Galt. I expect him now to be put behind Dane Warren. I expect him now to be fighting with Ian Ford for 6th place.
Yeah, I mean, like, It's an interesting one to call, this one. I mean, I think Jake Burton knows well and truly by now, as I'm seeing a Synergy Sim Racing car come into the pits. That's David Moore. But Burton versus Morris at the moment, they don't need to be fighting this hard, in my opinion. I think
They don't, but Jake Burton wants that position. He knows he's being held up right now, so he's just going to get more and more aggressive the more he gets held up, which is like a nightmare big wiggle as he got into it. Side by side they go through Quebec corner, gives him the hip check. Thank you, come again, and I will take my 50 cents and I will decide, goodbye, sir. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. So Jake Burton goes through, and almost arrogantly, he drives off into the distance, probably frustrated. The red mist descending in the scarlet red machine as Muggleton has himself in a battle.
Yes, he does with Warren, and I think, you know, Jake has, I think with those last couple of corners, Burton has a right to be frustrated, because I think Morris raced him a little bit too hard, maybe just cut it a little too fine there into Quebec. But regardless, it is what it is, and now they've just got to move on and continue racing. So this battle that we're seeing at the moment with Muggo involved with Ethan Warren is looking quite interesting, as actually Muggleton runs very wide in that third last corner, and there's contact once again between them. So Ethan Warren is going to go on through. Muggleton's struggling for grip there.
Yeah, he was, and now he's going to try and pick up the move on the exit to 1, but there's no door open. So, chasing down pavements, Ethan Warren makes sure Josh Muggleton has nowhere to go with Stenberg and Taliancic just in front. This is the opening stop. We're now heading towards lap 26 then of 64, looking to really push as race leader. Jared Filsell dives down onto pit road to serve his stop. He's gone as long as he can. Madison Down comes in. I expect Greg Galt to stay out, but he doesn't. He comes in as well. Dane Warren follows. They can only go 26 laps on a tank of fuel.
Yeah, and Dane Warren really kicking out the rear coming into the pit lane, so you can tell he's pushing hard, try and make up as much time as he can. Ian Ford has stayed out though, so that's interesting. We'll see how these guys fare versus Jake Burton. I mean, Burton, with the battle that he was having with Morris before, he's really been hurt. So I'm going to take a look here at what happens with Ethan and Madison. They are almost done with their pit stops, surely. Burton is actually coming through, and he's going to get them here. So actually, Madison and Ethan are going for a very long run here in the mid-race.
Yes, they are, and that's going to be crucial because Jared as well, looking to get that gap as well. Look at how Jared Filsell gets out ahead of Wayne Burke and Forzan El Nabi of all people. That's a battle for position as well. That was vital because Jared did not want to fight with those two, who are very, very strong and hard fighters. So he manages to get through. Madison Down's got to go through that. He's got Hamstead behind. Greg Galt's got Tally Angic, Stenberg and Warren all in his train with Muggleton, Harvey and Dane Warren now has got to get through the entirety of the lot. It's been a disaster for Dane.
Yeah, it certainly has. Dane certainly not in the position that he wants, up behind a bunch of cars that are all embroiled in their own fights here. Luke Harvey struggling for grip on exit, and you can see Dane has gotten the better exit there, so he's going to try and go for a move into the final sequence of turns, but in that they've lost more time to the drivers in front of them. Have a look at Ethan Warren and Kurt Stenberg coming into these turns. You can tell Ethan's hungry.
You certainly can. And, well, Dane Warren making his position comfortably there as he managed to just sight his way past Luke Harvey and Chris Robinson. And now he's got to get past the next four out on track. And here we go. We've got a spinner.
Oh, no, Wayne Burke side by side with Forzan El Nabi.
My bad.
El Nabi looking very aggressive coming into turn 2, and you know what? This is bringing Sam Blacklock back into contention here for these positions. You can see El Nabi is more aggressive there than Burke on entry. Just laid apex in Quebec corner a little bit. It's an interesting corner, Quebec. It seems to continue on for very long as Stenberg and Ethan Warren side by side once again. Here comes Dane Warren coming into turn 4. Oh, getting sideways over the crest. And Warren, have a look. He's almost getting into the back of Josh Muggleton. Goodness me. Incredible stuff here at the moment.
And we got Filsell versus Matt Morris, and I think he's going to be more respectful with Jared Filsell, and rightfully so. Therefore, Matt Morris has let through Jared Filsell, as now Filsell looks to chase down Burton. Keep an eye on this one. El Nabi under pressure. There's still Wayne Burke and Sam Blacklock. Anywhere you look at the moment, it's not going to be ideal. And Madison Down is chasing on the pressure rubber as well. That's not going to be too helpful. Tally Angic holding off a massive train as Warren now trying to go to the outside here of Josh Muggleton. Not quite going to get it, but a run wide from Stenberg is going to allow Muggleton the opportunity to go through. Dane Warren wants to follow with a 2-for-1 special similar to Road Atlanta. Not going to find it, but going to find Stenberg, who's going to fight this one on the outside, heading towards now the inside corner there of turn number 2. Apologies, big sideways moment behind, and there we go. See you, mate. And that was Luke Harvey, and he's saving it. Great save.
Certainly had to save it 2 or 3 times there, but still very well done as Dane Warren gets up the inside of Josh Muggleton, and he is through.
As Ethan Warren, his teammate, gets through on Michael Tally Angic, so the Warrens are moving, and 2 trailer park Warrens going down the inside and making a very good opportunity and making it stick.
Yeah, meanwhile, Blacklock has passed Burke, so those guys really...
Ford finally pits.
Oh, yeah. Ford finally pits, and Madison Down trying to make his way through here on Wayne Burke. He manages to do so quite easily. Now he's got to deal with his teammate of Blacklock and El Nabi in the midst of all of this as well.
Dane Warren down the inside of Michael Tally Angic, and Tally Angic fights back, of course. fighting with Ethan Grigot's a teammate, bit of contact. Go careful, boys. And well, he gets that one. Taliantic under pressure then as the combative circuit of Mosport comes back into play. Josh Muggleton couldn't find his way through. And look at how long Ian Ford's going to have to stay in the box. A very, very long while indeed on lap 29 as he's still waiting. Finally gets himself going. He'll be behind Blackhall. He'll be behind Jones. He'll be behind Riley Blythe as well. But of course, will put the least fuel of anybody in at the second stop. That's where he'll win it back. But some fantastic battling now as Down looks to attack Blacklock.
Yes, indeed, and I'm also looking at the Muggleton-Taliancic-Stenberg battle. These guys are still not done. Muggo just fired it up the inside of Taliancic coming into turn 2. He's managed to get that done, but those 4 cars are still stuck together with very quick drying glue. And Richard Hampstead versus Ethan Griggold is looking like an interesting one happening right now.
Yeah, that certainly does. Stenberg looks to attack Taliancic, but for the moment, no move forthcoming. As now here comes Madison Down to the inside of his teammate Sam Blacklock and comfortably gets the position through. So multi-21 a little bit. Ethan Griggold down the inside of Richard Hampstead makes the move. Warren now attacking teammate Ethan, and behind that, Robinson has got past Kurt Stenberg. So Stenberg really had to let off of it. He had a massive wiggle behind the driver of Taliancic. He just caught the grass, had to take 2 big stabs to try and save that vehicle, and Stenberg's a lucky man to be alive.
The Warrens have switched places now as Dane Warren goes through on Ethan. Still staying with him, but it looked like a fairly easy move into turn 1, as on screen we have Forzan El Nabi and Madison Down at the front of this train. So how will this turn out? Madison had a bit of an easy time with the 2 drivers behind, but I don't think El Nabi will be as accommodating.
I don't think he will. We've also got the battle for the race lead. Jared Filsell versus Jake Burton. Keep an eye on this one. Burton wants to prove himself as the #1 driver in Trans-Tasman racing. He's got to get past the man who has created a dynasty here at V8SCOPS. And guess what? No fight, no bite, no argument then from Jake Burton. He loses the position to Jared Filsell, and no surprises. Madison Down the inside of Forzan El Nabi. He takes the final spot on the podium. Guess what? We have a Tasman lock on board.
We certainly do, and that move between Burton and Filsell, I think, was very smart of them. They will be remembering, they'll be communicating even, that they have differing strategies, about as different as you can get. So there's no use getting in each other's way as usual. Unfortunately, Matt Morris is behind them, and he may look to throw a bit of a spanner in the works.
Well, he likes a good spanner, and he'll certainly work on that spanner and throwing it and everything else surrounding it. So, for now, it's going to be status quo in this event. Jared Filsell back to the point of this one, back to the front. So, a lot of work still left to be done. Madison Down in 3rd, El Nabi in 4th as Blacklock still looking to try and find a way past the Performance Sim Sport machine, but really not finding anything that has been accommodating to making that move. Sam Blacklock's been close a number of times, but he's got to find the magic moment to try and get himself through. Lap 31 of 64, we're at halfway at the end of next lap.
We certainly are, and it's absolutely flown by. There's been so much going on here, always something to talk about. As El Nabi, a little bit of a twitch into the 3rd last corner, and that is going to open up a bit of an attack from Blacklock. He can't actually get onto the line, though, because there's so much. Yeah, hang on a minute. Yeah, certainly Will Dodd, and he's going to go straight into the pits. What on earth happened to him?
Oh, he had a big moment, and I think that one has happened a lot previous. He was in the wall at on the run through the back stretch. So Will Dodd, that's day done. And did he? No, Doddy. But for now,
I can see what happened to him. It happened on the exit of turn 4. He ended up getting involved in a scrap between who is that? Matt Muggleton and Luke Page. Muggleton just having a bit of an appointment with the grass on the exit. And
wow.
Muggleton actually got hit by David Moore, so that was a recovering Matt Muggleton who made a mistake, and then Will Dodd, he was a complete bystander in that. He had nothing to do with that.
Nice guys finished last, that's all I'll say. For Sam Blacklock, though, you know, that he wants to make that move. He's been eyeing up 4th position for a little while and hasn't been able to be forthcoming in the way that he's needed to make that move. So keep an eye on this, close, but again, not really able to make that attack here. Let's keep an eye here on Bruce Kiley and Ross Rizzo. This is a little bit further down the field for about P25, P26. So now a big train as Rizzo desperately tries to get himself through. You've got Webster on the train, the Bryborg himself, Brian Borg, and the Gene Genie, Gene Finnis. So that middle pack certainly stacked with nicknames.
It certainly is, and already we're seeing side by side here. Cooper Webster versus Brian Borg, and Borg has the better run here. Webster with a decidedly more damaged car. Is he going to try and keep that position? He's going to have a red-hot go of it. Stay side by side with Brian here. But Rizzo round the outside of Bruce Kiley. That's fantastic. Well, I guess that proves that there is grip on the outside after all.
Oh, and a big shot there from the Gene Genie as Gene Finnis would get into the rear of Cooper Webster. Webster getting into the rear of the Bryborg. So not much you can say, not much you can do, but sometimes it's about making the move that works for you. Keep an eye on this one. Still Forzan Elnabi and Sam Blacklock still going at it as we keep also eyes on the likes of, say, Kurt Stenberg, who has really struggled to get past Chris Robinson and Michael Taliangic, who have held very well then in the second half of their stints. But again, Blacklock sitting, waiting, unable to get the magic run that opens up the corner. And if you can't pass, you can't get any higher than you are here, Reese.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you can't pass, you can't get higher than you are at anywhere, really, can you?
Well,
that's how racing works.
Yeah, I know that's how racing works, but for the moment, Sam Blacklock, I don't think he understands the importance of trying to make this move on Forzan Elnabi. He's got the likes of Ethan Griggold behind. He's got the likes of Ian Ford, who will be coming back into this race later on. He's got to get positions and pace now.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and he looks like he has the advantage. You know, when I flicked to them, I saw how much of a run he had down the straight. He needs to make use of that. He needs to try and fire it up the inside, get the move done, make it stick, and then he can focus on the rest of the race. Right now, behind Elnabi, you can tell he's not getting the most out of his race at the moment.
No, he's not. And, well, again, not getting the run off the exit. He's sort of angling to the inside, but he's not using all of the corner through turn 6. So that's what's really hampering him and the run that he needs. Pressure on Taliangic then, as Chris Robinson, Kurt Stenberg and Luke Harvey all look at this battle for 12th and go, well, I'd like that, but ultimately I can't get a run out of this corner as well. And the worse that those tyres get, the tougher a run gets out of that next double apex right-hander. And, well, I think that maybe the tyres starting to come into their own value here.
Yeah, they definitely do. The pit window for the second stop opens in 4 laps. So that's when we'll be seeing drivers making more moves, try and get some fresh boots on their cars and get that good exit out of Moss, as you say, Mr. Sperry. Meanwhile, Burke and Griggold still locked together, and Burke, you can see, is struggling for a bit of grip there through turn 2, and Ethan, a very good run there as Burke is on 24-lap old tyres, and up the inside he goes. Move done, and I don't think Burke will have any chance of coming back on that. He's going to have a go, but I don't think it's going to get done.
A fair go, but look at where he's got to attack next. It's going to be up at Moss. He's not going to be close enough. You've still got that Elnabi battle going on, and that's what Blacklock doesn't want. Ethan Griggold added to the party. So, Forzan Elnabi, 120.7 the last time by. You've got Dane Warren on 20.2s, Hamstead's on 20.6s closing, Burke's on 20.8 staying in the status quo, but it's just not being helpful between now and the end of this one. And let's not forget that Madison Downs closing 7/10 a lap here on Jake Burton in the battle for second position on track as well. So a lot still to change then as we are over the halfway stage here at Mosport.
We certainly are. Half down, half to go, and well, Jake Burton, I think, may start to worry. It was a 20.7 on his last lap there with a 20.2 from Madison Down. Half a second taken out of him over that last lap. And, I mean, going back once again to the battle for 4th place running at the moment, Elnabi and Blacklock, I think Sam needs to pit very soon, because if he doesn't, he's just going to be stuck behind Elnabi. There's no way that he can try and get past him here.
Well, he's got to wait for the window to open for him, max the fuel, and then get yourself in and out again. We've seen that the maximum you can go is 29 laps on a stint of fuel, and when they cross the line, it will be lap 37, so they will have themselves about 28 laps to go. It will be bold, but you'd have to fuel save from where you are right now. For Blacklock, he's got everything that he needs to do. Make the move, or Ethan Griggolt will go and make the move for you. And one of the most demoralizing things for a driver is not being able to get past someone, but see someone else get past you and someone else.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You can tell Blacklock in the draft once again. He's got so much speed and momentum through this section of the circuit, but El Nabi is putting his car squarely where Blacklock doesn't want it to be. So they stay behind once again, and have a look at how close Ethan is to them now. And Blacklock, a little bit of a mistake, just off into the grass on the exit of the last turn, but Ethan is looming.
Oh, you bet he is looming, and now that's going to be a little bit worrying as Ethan Griggolt wants to get into the mix and start cycling through positions. Remember, championship implications with every position he gains. He's going to get closer and closer in the long haul. Keep an eye on Matt Morris as well. He's back behind Jake Burton, one lap down. Doesn't want to get involved as such, but if he does, well, oh, big wiggle there from Matt Morris just behind Jake Burton. Go careful, son. Go careful. Blacklock's still unable to do anything, but now look at Ethan Griggolt. This is his first chance then to go and make a move.
Yes, it is, and if he can, well then, I guess that tells us all we need to know about the way Sam Blacklock's race is going at the moment. He's in the draft as Ethan Griggolt, but doesn't look like he'll have a very good run here. I don't think he'll be able to make that move. Not now, at least, but Blacklock actually not as close to El Nabi as he was on previous laps as well. I think he's starting to become aware of the fact that Ethan is right there. Oh, look out! And Blacklock,
and here he goes
up the inside.
Oh, he used that so well.
Do it.
Contact. Here comes Ethan Griggolt then to the outside, and Blacklock lets him go for it into turn number one. That was Sam Blacklock taking the momentum that was given by the shunt, and that was what made things happen. Wayne Burke comes in. He makes his final stop then of the day, releasing other drivers. But that for Sam Blacklock, he tried to use the momentum there, Reese, to try and get, after being hit by Ethan Griggolt, to attack Forzan El Nabi, and he didn't see it coming.
Yeah, well, you know, that's another thing you got to think about going through that last turn. But it seems that for Blacklock, the car just over-rotated in the mid-corner, and so that completely ruined his run on the exit. You can't just think about the corner entry. You have to think about how you're going to get out of it as well, and unfortunately, Sam Blacklock was not able to get it done in the mid-corner where it mattered.
Well, Madison Down has found himself to the rear of Morris and Burton and should be given through passage, and the right is there. Richard Hampstead now under pressure. Here comes Dane Warren looking for opportunity as he goes to the inside at turn number 8, and this could be plain sailing, but Hampstead's going to fight this one here on the inside. It's going to just ease out of it there as the move's not going to happen. 2 comes in as Burton's in. Oh, so is Blacklock. So is El Nabi. Disaster for Blacklock. His man that he wanted to come in and try and beat, he's now unable to.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, it'll come down to who is able to make the best use of their pit stop time here. El Nabi comes to a stop. Blacklock comes to a stop. They're actually in pit bays right next to each other, so we're going to get a very good indication as to who has the better pit stop time here. So the long wait begins. Coming into the pits behind them is Josh Muggleton, and a lot of drivers stationary on pit road at the moment as we wait to see what the state of play is going to be. Burton is now away. Blacklock has beat El Nabi. There we go. So if he couldn't get it done on track, get it done in the pits.
Well, he's gone and short-fueled it, so Blacklock taking a gamble now needs to save some fuel. Good news, he's out behind Scott Larnett, and more crucially, he's got Jake Burton just in front, so Gene Finnis there in the mix as well. That's not going to be ideal, but it's going to be enough at this stage. Forzan El Nabi's behind Ryan O'Sullivan and also Cooper Webster, so down the inside of Ryan O'Sullivan after his wicked crash at Oran Park. He's back and he's working again, but El Nabi makes his way through. Blacklock struggling to find a way past Scott Larnett. Can't do it into turn number 4, not into Moss as well at 5, so the struggles, they certainly do exist at the moment, as now coming out of pit road, the likes of Brian Borg and Lee Ellis then looking to continue on their ways with Madison down and the likes going through.
Yes, indeed. And Sam Blacklock was unable to get it done on Scott Larnack out of there, but Greg Galt, yes, is in. So how is this going to work out between him and Madison down? Well, Madison is just coming out of turn 4 right now, so Ethan has plenty of time. Yeah, Madison has not pitted yet. Sorry, my mistake. Greg Galt is away, and he's ahead of Jake Burton.
No surprises there, and ahead by a country mile, as Burton had to put a lot more fuel into that vehicle comparatively to Ethan Greg Galt. So Greg Galt out in a good position. Question becomes, can Madison down get out ahead of Ethan Greg Galt and keep his championship alive? A championship which was damned at the early stages, at the very opening race with a blown engine at Road Atlanta. Madison down has been on the back foot ever since.
Yeah, he has. And I mean, like, it's a long season. You got to make sure that you work at it to try and get that ground back, as David Moore and Chris Robinson are now on screen at the moment. But Madison down, you know, his story so far this season, it certainly got off to a bad start, but yeah, coming off on such a horrible round as Road Atlanta, you really do think he needs to pull out all the stops to try and get something back on this, as Hampstead goes into the pits.
Out comes Andrew Gillum and Bruce Kiley then from making their stops. Hampstead in, as is Blackhall, looking to come in from 9th position at the time. Sislowski also dives in, with Ethan Greg Galt making his way now with Riley Blythe. Will get down the inside. Hampstead will be clearly overtaken and beaten in that stage, but where will he come out in comparison? He gets back on the power, definitely behind Jake Burton, and he'll be behind a couple more as well. There's El Nabi, there's Blacklock, there's Fiddis, and there's Hampstead.
Yes, indeed, and I'm sorry for that that exertion grunt there, but Josh Muggleton got himself involved in the Moore and Robinson battle. Moore looked like actually they made contact with each other. So Chris Robinson not only was able to get by David Moore, but now he has Muggleton right on the back of him here too.
Yes, he does, and that is as simple as it gets. Drivers who are yet to come down in: Jared Filsell, Madison down, Dane Warren. You've got Ian Ford, who's probably going to be the last driver to come down and make a stop. Emily Jones yet to come in. Riley Blythe yet to come down on the lane as well. So a lot of drivers with a lot of work to do then here towards the second half. And this is what we see. It doesn't often come along until the final stages, as Michael Schreier comes off the pit road.
He does, and where is he going to come out in all of this? Schreier, 2 laps down at the moment, not a very good place to be in, but he is involved in a fight, I believe, with Andrew Gilliam, as they are quite close to each other.
They are quite close to each other, and well,
ahead, sorry.
Well,
my timing screen is betraying me.
Oh, what a shame. That's a little bit disappointing, but well, Hampstead right now is under pressure because he's got through on Gene Fiddis, the Gene Genie himself. But Richard Hampstead's had work to do. He's got to get to Forzan El Nabi in front, and he's got the fresher tyres to be able to do that. He's got to push hard, though, on this one because El Nabi has got Blacklock in front. And remember, Blacklock did get a quicker stop than Forzan El Nabi comparatively, so El Nabi will be trying to pull back as much as he can.
Yeah, he certainly will. You know, you got to think about the on-track as well. Sam Blacklock really had his work cut out from trying to get past Forzan El Nabi and resorted to having to do it in the pits. You got to think, though, El Nabi will know that Blacklock's short-filled. He'll know that Blacklock will be trying to save fuel. El Nabi, I don't think he needs to worry too much about that. So he'll be looking to try and take advantage of that. He does look a little bit quicker, though.
He certainly does, but Emily Jones dives down on the lane from 5th position at the time. Where she comes out, it should be a lot, and we got a spin.
No,
we've got Ford in early.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually out he goes. So that is a complete
behind
stop.
Hampstead. And behind Ethan Warren as well. That's not going to be useful. Ethan Warren's got himself a position that he wanted, as out comes Emily Jones behind Michael Taliancic. So a lot of time lost then from Emily Jones. She's got work to do. Sternberg's in front, Moore's in front, Harvey's in front. All drivers that she should be looking to challenge with and beat if she wants to continue her progression in sim racing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, we all have off days, I guess, as Loxton and Burton are involved in a fight here up front. Burton, of course, still trying to make his way through here. Brett Loxton, as Madison Down actually pits, we'll take a look at that versus Ethan. Brett Loxton has actually stayed out for quite some time in that Zuva Racing number 209 machine. 25.
Someone's off.
Go as someone's off, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that I'm not sure that's safe really too much. Blackhall and Muggleton both gone. Oh, that's really dangerous. That's right on the edge of the racing circuit here, and that could just throw a caution potentially. I'm not sure it's going to, because they're both off of the racing track, but Blackhall has got his engine smoking there on the outside.
Here we go,
and
caution.
The yellow is thrown.
Yes, it is. Wow, okay, so this is going to change everything.
And Philsa hasn't pitted.
Yeah, Philsa hasn't
pitted, so that's going to be disaster for him. He's got to come and make it stop. He'll be dropped to the back of the train. Disaster for Phil Sell and his championship perspective.
Oh my goodness, that has completely thrown everything off. What an event here. I'm just going to take a look back here at the Blackhall and Matt Muggleton incident. So I took a look. Blackhall just, they both made a mistake on the exit of turn one. They actually didn't make contact with each other to cause their offs, but Muggleton making a mistake on the exit, running into the grass, he just slid out of control into Blackhall, who had already hit the wall. So both of those cars with heavy damage.
Oh, and that has completely thrown a spanner in the works. A caution. We're on lap 45 of 64. Phil Sell's got to come down in and make a pit stop. And Madison Down was in the pits as well. So that means that Madison has come out and has got himself back going again in front of Ethan Griggold. That gives the race lead then effective to Madison Down in this stage. A lot of traffic in the middle, a free stop there coming into play, but you can see now, look at all those one lap down vehicles that separate Jared Philsell now from Madison Down. Dane Warren as well in the mix as well. He didn't stop either. He's got to come down as well.
Wow, so both of those guys having to deal with the consequences of this event, and my goodness, like, what will this, how will this implicate the championship? Because if Madison is in the position to win here, and Jared, I think the best he could probably hope to finish at this stage, where would he finish?
Well, this is the question, because there's a lot of traffic in the between Jared Philsell and the rest of the field. So the good news is going to be that it's going to take a little while for the drivers to circulate, like Madison Down, Ethan Griggold, Jake Burton, past Jared Philsell. I think that does the damage a little bit less. I may be thinking Ian Ford, Ethan Warren, maybe even Wayne Burke, but it's going to have to be a magic 20 laps coming up from Jared Philsell. This has to be driving like Sonoma if he wants to go and make things work, and I think he's going to angle now down onto the lane.
Yep,
it's a free stop, yes, but he has lost out because of it. In he comes.
Yes, he has. So let's monitor Philsell as the majority of the field goes streaming by. Where will he come out in the midst of all of this? Madison Down is currently traversing the start-finish straight. So also coming in, Dane Warren and Andrew Gilliam. Will Dodd coming back in for another stop as well. He spent some time in the pits getting damage repaired. David Moore as well, jumping into the pits as well. Oh,
this is painful. It's behind Taliancic. It's behind Emily Jones. That's painful. I think he comes out, though, in front of Jones. He got out on the line ahead. But look at that. Behind Taliancic, that's position number 16. Jared Philsell has got to put a clinic on. I don't see a way he wins this one. I do see a way, though, he makes it to the top 10.
Yeah, well, he hasn't got much time left to do it. We're currently on lap 46 out of 64, so 22, 23 laps thereabouts. Less than a split 2 race in order for Jared Filsell to try and make his way up. So, I don't know. Top 10? Probably.
If anybody can, Jared Filsell can, and we've seen time and again the impossible get asked, but the impossible does not happen. Michael Schreier has the pace at the moment. He is 2 laps down, looking to try and get himself straight back through. He is waved around as he looks to get back going through, so pace behind Madison down. Ethan Griggolt, Jake Burton, Sam Blacklock, and Forzan El Nabi, your top 5 as things stand at the moment. The lights on top of the pace car are officially off. We are going green this time by on lap 47 of 64. It's all about make or break. It's already been broken for the likes of Warren and Filsell. They've got work to do through the field. But for Madison down, Ethan Griggolt, you've got to take the points now. It means everything to get what you want. Pace behind down.
Yep,
through
and the
turn
pace car
9.
is off.
Pace car off, and the green flag will come pretty early, and here he goes. Green flag will fly at circuit of Mosport, and now Madison down needs to get himself going here as we look to go through. I believe we are still under yellow, are we? No, we're still going green, and we're still making a good charge of things right now, as for the moment, Ethan Griggolt, Madison down, running a very strong race.
Yeah, they certainly are. Madison down got a good jump from Ethan out of that last turn, and now Burton is really pressuring Ethan for second place.
Oh no, we're back under caution, are we?
Yeah, the green flag was never actually flown.
Wow.
That's very odd. So the pace car went in, but the race didn't actually go. Oh, now we got the green flag right in the middle of Moss. That took its time. What?
It did, but we're going. Doesn't matter how it happens. So we can debate and argue about it afterwards. Hampstead now applying pressure on El Nabi. This is crucial because there was a massive checkup with Wayne Burke. That's made a massive gap now for Filsell and Co. He can't make any positions. And now look at that, down the inside. And there's Hampstead losing out to Ian Ford. Yellow comes out.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what happened there at all. Remember, the flag, the race still going green.
I think they're resetting it. I think,
yes.
Right, this is what I think. I think that we had a staggered start, a lot of confusion. I think the easiest thing to do is to get everybody back into position, and getting everyone back into position, have a proper start again. It's rare that something like this happens. It's rare that a yellow does not get cleared and a green flag goes. I think it was something to do with the wave around that we saw from Michael Schreier that may have caused it, but we're going to get everything back together again. It's not ideal, but remember, this just ticks laps off for Madison down and Ethan Griggolt. They won't care what technicalities are happening.
Yeah, of course, certainly. It works out really well for them either way, and it's just less laps that Jared Filsell has to try and reclaim as many positions as possible. But this, it looks to me like Madison may have overtaken before the pace car actually re-entered the pits. I'm not quite sure how that would have gone. No. I
don't think so.
I don't know who Daniel Williams is referring to in the in-sim text chat there, because he's just saying overtook before pit car got in pits. I don't know who that's referring to.
It does. For the moment, Reese, all that matters is that Madison down leads with Ethan Griggolt in second and Jake Burton in third place. We can debate all of this after the event. We can get Michael Korolev in after this race to explain exactly what happened from the steward's eye of things. We certainly can get that sort of eye into proceedings. But for now, it's just a waiting game. We are on lap 48 here of 64 as we have ourselves an extended period of caution after a little bit of an unfortunate situation. But for Madison down, he will now know. He will wait a little bit longer. If that's what's caused it, he will wait a little bit longer anyway to make sure that pace car is certainly in. He will want to get the jump on Ethan Griggolt. He will want Jake Burton for the team's championship to get past Ethan Griggolt and for his own driver's championship as well. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a tough race, and for Jared Filsell in 15th place, he's got Talyandzic. Stenberg will be the easy job. Harvey will be an easy job. I think he's going to come stuck with Robinson, stuck with Burke, stuck with Ethan Warren as well.
Yes, and you know we've been over this a few times already. You know the current state of play as things are. It's really going to put a dent in Filsell's championship lead. I don't know if he'll lose it, but it's certainly going to make things
won't be lost
at the next round. Yeah, won't be lost, but I tell you what, it certainly won't do any favors for his confidence levels.
No, it won't, and it goes to show that when it comes to V8SCOPS, anything can happen. Anything can change the landscape. We were going to be talking about Jared Filsell waltzing away from the field on an all-green flag run for 64 laps. One caution comes out thanks to Jake Blackwell and co, and that completely ends the way that we look at things. So right now, Madison Down, Ethan Griggold, Jake Burton, Vorzan Elnavi, Ian Ford, your top 5 as things stand. Richard Hampstead back in 6th position, and Sam Blacklock is in 7th. So for now, lights are off on top of the pace car. Reese, when they get back going, they will have 15 laps to make something happen.
They certainly will. Maybe less if iRacing's automated green flag decides to not wave again. We'll see how that goes. But whatever ended up causing that issue, as you said, Jake, we'll be able to ask the stewards after the race to see what happened, because the actual waving of the green flag is not controlled by the stewards. That's automated. It ends when the pace car goes into the pits as part of iRacing's system. So, wow.
Do you think it was waiting for Schreier?
It might have been. Maybe they did the wave around too late.
Maybe that was the case. So for Michael Schreier, maybe he has played a factor into the racing. Schreier currently in 36th position, right at the back of the line, 1 lap down. But for the moment, Madison Down has nobody in front. There's no wave around. It is going to be as you were then. Ethan Griggold, Jake Burton, Vorzan Elnavi, Ian Ford. Take 2 then, boys. Through turn number 8, the prime overtaking opportunity corner. The switchback corner coming up of turn number 9 at this 3.96 kilometer circuit. And then turn number 10 will crop along as well. Pace car comes in. The green flag comes out early this time, and Madison Down is sitting and waiting for the green to go. And well, he's going to wait for the pace car the entirety of the way, and then get himself going. Is he? No, I have no idea what's going on. It's a green flag, but
yeah, the
nobody's
green flag's
going.
gone. They should. What's going on here?
I don't know. This is bizarre. This is V8SCOPS. This is. I have never seen anything like this in my sim racing career. I mean, I can see a green flag in the top left corner of my screen. That means that the green flag is waving, but maybe the drivers aren't getting it. What's going on here? I have no idea, but all I know is that we are still under a few positions as Wayne Burke gets himself with Chris Robinson as well. So he's looking to get a little bit of position. We're green, but they are not, it seems, at this stage. So right now it's a procession, and there's not much more you can say about it, Reese. They're going to wait and wait and wait until they get their green.
Yeah, I mean, how... I'm absolutely lost for words right now. They're addressing some positions that were changed. Okay. Right, okay, there we go.
There we go. We get the understanding now. So we're under a virtual safety car then at this stage whilst we sort some things out. That's where we get our understanding. We don't have full access to what the stewards say. We sort of pick up bits and pieces. Chris Robinson gets his black flags cleared for a few mistakes that he's had. So they sit, they wait, and they look to get themselves back going again. We are under a virtual safety car. Yeah, so they're going to get Blacklock, Elnavi, and Hampstead sorted out before we get another green going again. So that's another lap ticked off the book for Madison Down. That's going to be the crucial factor. Through 8, they come once more. They've been told to hold their positions whilst they clear it. They want to clear it under green flag conditions. So now, I think with everything cleared, we can finally get going. The confusion is done. We've never had anything like this really happen before. Have they cleared everything just yet? For the moment, We're still pacing around, so I believe that we have not just yet, as Madison Down is still holding the field. We're still under virtual conditions. We are waiting for the all clear from the stewards.
Yes, we are. And of course, as you pointed out, Jake, you know, we don't hear what the stewards are saying. I mean, we do have the ability to, but at least in my case, for the purposes of concentrating on my commentary, I turn off all voice chat in the sim. So I rely on information being fed to me from other sources. So forgive us if we are not quite as on top of this as the drivers are, but that is the nature of the commentary game.
It is, and well, that's where we sometimes need a little bit more information than we get. So under virtual conditions, we are looking for the positions to be returned to as they were for the first of the restarts. So for now, positions, drivers who should be trying to make moves: Dane Warren from 17th, Jared Filsell from 15th position. You gotta make sure that you are on it when they go green, when they get out there. But for now, Madison Down will tick off these laps, looking at lap 51, looking to get to lap 52 when they get going. And all of this is just that waiting game. It's just saving more and more fuel. It's more fuel to burn. It's more license to attack, Reese, when you get down to it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's one thing that I guess a lot of people don't often consider when caution periods happen. You do gain not just a rest, but also your car gains a little bit more grip in the rubber, a little bit more fuel to burn later on, so you can afford to be more aggressive later. So they're coming up to the end of this lap. We don't know in the commentary box if the green flag is going to fly this time around under admin control, but we are hearing green.
We should be going green. We should be going green. So Madison Down has control of the pace. The virtual safety car will end, and he will get ourselves going with just 13 laps to go at Mosport. A good start then from Madison Down as Briggold, Burton, Blacklock, El Nabi chase. Hampstead under pressure. Keep an eye, though, on a certain Jared Filsell. He's already looking to attack Michael Taliangic, and Taliangic now is going to try and do everything in his powers to turn number 2. Filsell dives one down to the inside, and a block thrown behind by Jones. Jones is holding off for Filsell, the driver of Dane Warren. Perfect. Filsell has got himself going, and look at Blacklock now attack.
Yeah, certainly. Blacklock on...
and Hampstead.
Blacklock doing fantastic here at the moment. Yeah, Hampstead. Oh, that's looking quite awkward there between Hampstead and Ian Ford. And my God, look at the way the cars go through Moss. They know that there's not much time left in this race. If they want to make moves, they have to make them now. So Ian Ford behind Richard Hampstead may be looking to make a move here. He's got a bit of a draft.
He's got the draft and he wants to run. He's on the outside looking to make it. Burton, the Scarlet Pimpernel himself, is looking to get past Ethan Griggold, but he's not going to quite find it. But side by side, it's still Ian Ford holding it. He'll get the inside then for turn number 9, and he's not going to hold it because Hampstead's going to go around the outside into 10 and get it. Opportunity opens for Ethan Warren to try and be aggressive. Not working. Filsell already through on Harvey and Stenberg, getting the team to work for him. I've got to make moves. Dane Warren, in comparison, though, is absolutely nowhere. Still stuck with Jones, still stuck there, and really struggling and going backwards. Dane Warren has been caught out by Emily Jones, doing the job for the team that's needed for Filsell, and that is only helping Filsell now, with Muggleton just up in front. Should be an easy pass, as now Ian Ford under pressure, as is a certain Ethan Warren, as Burt comes down the inside.
Yep, Andrew Gilliam just running off track out of turn 2, but he's managed to get on cleanly, so we are still racing, so everything's gone well there, but these battles up ahead, I tell you what, it's certainly looking good for Filsell here as he can try and make his way past Chris Robinson. A little bit of a tap in Moss. Well, Robinson's covering him off, and Filsell will be forced to take alternative lines down the Mario Andretti straight. You know, Chris Robinson, he has every right to race Filsell here. They've all taken their pit stops. They're all racing for position here, but Filsell, oh yeah, what about that?
Well, here he goes. He goes to the outside of Chris Robinson, looking for the move. He'll have the inside for the next corner, and he should have superior grip. There's contact between the pair. Robinson's not giving this one up. He's still got the inside line. They're holding each other up, and now look at this. Spread yourself 3 wide as Josh Muggleton takes advantage and takes the position. Look at this, though, from Hampstead, trying to fight Ian Ford, trying everything and not quite getting it there. So now here comes Wayne Burke into the mix as he looks to go through this battle for the mid part of your top 10. Keep an eye at the front, though. It's 8/10 for Madison Down, who leads this one, and that pack is basically Griggolt holding off the stave charge. But for now, it seems that Jared Filsell has already got himself into the top 10.
Yeah, wow, already. I was not expecting that. Filsell putting on a fantastic masterclass in overtaking and also having your teammates help you out a little bit, I suppose. But now his next targets are Ethan Warren, Wayne Burke, and Richard Hampstead, as they are all embroiled in their own little fights with Ian Ford in the mix as well. I get the feeling Filsell's going to have a little bit more work to do, especially starting at the end of this straight.
And remember that Filsell pitted under the caution, so he's got the freshest tyres of the lot as well. So for Jared Filsell, he will be lugged the hot knife through, but a big slide coming from Ethan Warren. He holds it together, but now Filsell's got to be wary. He sees the slide. That race could end so quickly. If I get involved in an incident, I don't want to. There's also the very tricky character of Richard Hampstead to get past, as well as Forzan El Nabi in this race. Little half defensive line. Filsell angles to the inside, and Ethan Warren can't do much but hold it around the outside as they make the run to 2. He does not have the grip on the exit, and there's Filsell up into 9th.
Yep, his next target is Wayne Burke, and Richard Hampstead's managed to gain a little bit of extra time, so every single position here matters for Filsell. He wants to try and minimize the damage. This is a race of damage limitation now for Jared Filsell after having a very nice time out in front for the majority of the race. So it's coming down into the braking zones here. A little bit of a slide by Filsell over the crest. It's coming into corners like Moss, where you just see he gains the most, and now he's lined up the exit very well here. Wayne Burke manages to do the same, but I get the feeling it's going to be a little bit more passing by Jared Filsell at the end of this lap 55. They don't have long, 10 laps.
And it will be 9 next time across the line for Filsell, so he's running out of time. He's got to get past Wayne Burke in the Synergy Sim Racing machine. Then he's got Hampstead at TTL, Ford, who will be doing a desperate job for Ethan Griggolt for Evolution Racing Team. So still, Filsell's trying to pick a pocket, trying to find a position. He's been able to make moves into one already. Gets a little wiggle coming off of the curb. He's unable to get the run then on Wayne Burke. Further in front, though, they really haven't had anything really to shake a stick at. No real battles at all to name because they've just been single file. Burke, no opportunity to turn 2. Filsell's looking everywhere.
Yeah, he is, and it may be another opportunity for him here at Quebec. He's going to try and go for the inside here. Big
lovely
lunge under brakes, and that is a fantastic use of his car's superior grip to see Filsell go through there, but he's got a bit of a gap to Hampstead now.
A gap to Hampstead, but Hampstead himself is a tricky customer. You don't want to be fighting Hampstead too hard because he can fight back just as hard as anybody else. They head themselves into Moss Corner once more. Madison Downs extending the gap at the front. It was over 1.3 seconds, and now Ethan Griggolt's thinking, okay, first is now running out of my wheelhouse. I've got to protect second.
Yeah, well, you know, Burton is not as close to Ethan as I thought he would be. I think that Ethan's got the measure of him at the moment because when did Burton pit relative to Griggolt? I can't remember.
Very early.
Yeah, very early. So he doesn't have as much left in that car. A good 1 lap apart, we're hearing from the director. Yeah, a good lap as opposed to a bad lap apart. Madison 4 laps earlier though, so it's actually looking like 4 laps later, sorry. So Madison in the best position relative to all of these guys.
It shows.
Yeah.
It shows there. As Madison actually pits 1 lap before the safety car. That's why he has been in prime position in this race. For Jared Filsell, though, he's got to get to 7th now. Richard Hampstead. Filsell has finished no lower than 2nd so far this season. He has attended every single race so far. This is the toughest test that he is going to have. The race did not go his way. Fortune did not favour the Phil Cell. And now he's got to find a way past Richard Hampstead and Ian Ford. Not ideal, but he is very much so almost the fastest man on track. 19.7s that last time by only Madison Down went quicker than Phil Cell.
Yeah, very good stuff there from Madison Down out the front. He's doing everything that he needs to try and secure this race victory. And, you know, the battle for second between Griggold and Burton is it's looking pretty stagnant. I think Jake is trying everything that he can to try and stay in touch with Ethan, but he's not able to do it. Sam Blacklock, on the other hand, he's staying with these guys very nicely. He's actually left El Nabi behind.
And El Nabi is starting to fall backwards into the clutches of Ford and Hampstead and Phil Cell, and that's not going to be useful on lap 58 of 64. 7 laps remaining here at Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Phil Cell now firmly on the rear of Richard Hampstead. Hampstead will have to do everything in his power to defend here if he wants that extra position. Big slide from Jared Phil Cell. He gets out there. You can see how hard he's pushing.
Yeah, certainly. He doesn't want to do a Cameron dance and get all of his tyres usage completely done before he has a chance to make a move, though. He's got to be very careful here, does Phil Cell. Oh, Hampstead still pressuring forward, though, and Phil Cell will be relying on his exit now from Moss to try and get a run-in on these guys. It's a proper three-way battle here for 6th place, and, you know, if Phil Cell doesn't get these 2 positions, it's going to be even more hurt to his championship lead. Of course, he will still keep it if he finishes where he does now, no matter what happens. But still, he wants to keep the margin as big as possible as Ford and Hampstead almost going bumper to bumper here through the final turns. Phil Cell, very aggressive there on entry into the penultimate corner. He's right on the back of Hampstead now as they come around to start lap 59 out of 64.
6 laps remain at Mosport. For Richard Hampstead, he's trying everything to hold off Phil Cell. Ian Ford, though, wants to be the blockade, the barrier, and look to try and be everything that he needs to. The blood blockade battlefront, that is Ian Ford. Now looking at this, again attacking at Quebec goes Jared Phil Cell, and nothing that Hampstead can do there, nothing there. That was a perfect move again from Phil Cell. He's found a new favourite overtaking place, and it's one not many get a chance to make and make look good, as now Hampstead sits behind. It's 6th position now for Jared Phil Cell. He's in 7th now, and he's just clawing back points again and again and again, and he wants Jake Burton to help him out as Ethan Griggold still under pressure. That may come down to a last lap move.
Yeah, it may very well. You know, we know about the possibility of a move into those last few corners at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. The question is, when do you do it? You want to do it at the last possible opportunity, but then there's no opportunity to recover if you mess up. So Burton, I think he just needs to keep the pressure up nice and consistent and then go for it on the last lap.
Where he's got everything that he needs to do. Keep an eye still on Phil Cell. We have for the majority of this stint because he is the man on the move. There are championship implications as he now looks to chase down Ian Ford. Looking at turn 2. Now he'll line this up for 3. Now if you're Ian Ford, you defend into 3 now because you know how Jared Phil Cell can be, and he's not going to get a chance. There you saw the defensive line, but this is just going to open the door for Phil Cell now to attack potentially into Moss. We haven't seen moves into Moss. It's not been the place you go and make them, but Phil Cell now angling the line, all of the track being used, looking for turn 5. He's not going to get it, or is he? Gets heavy on the brakes and just slows it down and goes for the big slide down the inside. He's going to get it. He's going to give him a check as well. Jared Phil Cell caught him napping, and so will Hampstead.
Yeah, Hampstead's got the run here on Ian Ford. Very good move there from Phil Cell. Just dive up the inside in the second phase of Moss. But now Hampstead and Ford are side by side down the straight. Will Hampstead be able to keep this? He's already by, but Ford may look to try and come back at him here. A little bit of a slide on the inside, but Hampstead shuts the door. And there's contact. Hampstead slides, and he recovers. A fantastic recovery there from Richard Hampstead coming through into the final corners. Ford, I think, has run out of response as Ethan Warren and Wayne Burke are side by side behind him. Warren is going to get the traction here. Burke still has a little bit of a chance here coming into the first turn. Is he going to go for it? Yes, he is. And can wow, oh goodness, I'm tripping over myself here. Ethan Warren getting the fantastic exit out of turn 1, and he holds it. What a fantastic bit of racing that was there. But Phil Sell up into 6th.
In the words of good old JR, business has just picked up, and we all see it and know it. Phil Sell now has eyes on Forzan El Nabi, the same El Nabi that made contact with Jake Burton at Oran Park a week ago. The same Forzan El Nabi who got involved with Wayne Burke just earlier on in this event. It's going to be the most difficult overtake of the lot, I think, for Jared Phil Sell, because if push came to shove, I'm not sure now. I think Blacklock would potentially slow down and let the position go, but with Burton, I'm not too sure when he's attacking Ethan Griggold here for 2nd position out on track. So a lot still to come for Phil Sell, as he's got only 3 laps to go to make the move on Forzan El Nabi, the crucial one that puts him back in the top 5 and is a massive, massive save from 15th just 10 laps ago.
It certainly is. It's been a great run from Phil. So on the final lap of the final few laps here, as there are 3 laps to go now. So Phil Sell behind El Nabi, looking really good here. You just take a look at what they do in the 2. You can see how much more confident Phil Sell is in the front end of his car. On entry, he just closes up massively. And now, coming into Quebec, oh goodness, you can see he's having a look, though. He's having a look.
Well, he's angling it up. He wants to get it done quickly, so he may have half a chance to attack Sam Blacklock if he's got anything left in his tyres. I don't think he does, but look at how he now looks to try and make this move. Thinking about the inside. Will he do it the same way Ian Ford did? You bet he will down the inside. El Nabi got well out of the way there, said, you know what, I don't want to get involved with the race leader, the championship leader, the 2-time reigning champion. And look at this further forward. We still got Burton looking, but Ian Ford coming back as well. And look at this. El Nabi's going to say, I want the run off the exit, but he's not going to be close enough here to make the move. It was fully defended. El Nabi's not got enough, though, on the brakes.
No, he hasn't actually bumped Phil Sell a little bit. Have a look at how aggressive he is into the 3rd last turn. You can tell El Nabi, he's making another statement there. You know, I want it. Whoa, hang on a minute. Ian Ford and Richard Hampstead paddling behind them. That battle certainly is far from over.
It was, and there was a bit of contact between them at turn 9 as well. Popsicle sticks in the air, 2 laps to go. Eye on Ethan Griggold here, Reese. He's under pressure, and he knows one wrong move, and that is the entirety of his season undone.
Oh, well, you know, Ethan, he needs to keep up a run of good finishes to try and stay in the championship fight. He's doing what he needs to at the moment. He looks very calm and collected in front of Jake Burton, but, you know, this is the penultimate lap, and Burton, well, we know how aggressive he can be. We know, like, he pursues everything that he does, Burton, with this single-minded determination, and passing Ethan Griggold will be one of those things. Question is, will Ethan allow him to? I honestly don't know. Madison has completely checked out. He's got this in the bag right now, but Ethan versus Jake is certainly going to be one to watch. Blacklock might come into this as well if things get a little randy.
Well, if they get dicey, that's what we expect. 1 lap to go for Madison Down, who looks on the cusp of his 2nd race win of the season, as he got 1 at Phillip Island. He wants it at Mosport as well. The battle for 2nd we keep an eye out on for the championship. Ethan Griggold versus Jake Burton versus the driver Sam Blacklock. So now for Sam, he's got to get going. He's got to start thinking about making the moves. But though for Ethan Griggold, it's defense, it's all attack. The 1-2 wanted for Jake Burton and the Momo side of Trans-Tasman Racing. The same Momo side that leads the team's championship, which is oh so vital between now and the end of this season. For Griggold, though, he's slowly extending that gap through 3 of Quebec, now through 4, and towards Moss 5 and 6. Not close enough just yet from Jake Burton, but it may have to be kamikaze if he wants to go and make this move. There's no way that Phil Sell's close enough. I don't think he'll go any higher than position number 5, but look at the run that Ethan Griggold is managing to take out of that. It's almost like he's usurping the power out of the Philosopher's Stone. He is that good at getting the power back down, but right now, Madison Down with 3 corners to go. No chance for Griggold to make the move or to defend a move at all. There may be a chance at the final corner. Madison Down picks his second race win up of the season and says, I'm not out of this, I'm alive and kicking. Here comes Burton, contact there, and now Blacklock is going to come and take it. It's a Tasman lock, but look at that. That's going to be Blacklock up into second position, ahead of Burton at the line, but Ethan Griggold will feel shafted after that contact. Burton never had the nose, and the stewards will look.
Oh, they certainly will. I can't see that being seen any other way. I mean, that was desperate by Burton. I can definitely understand why he felt he needed to do it, but go into a replay of that now, of course, presented by CPR Kart Parts, that there's really no debate there. Burton was super wrong.
But, well, Burton went for the gap, and the gap was massively presented by Ethan Griggold. Griggold should have maybe had more insight to the fact that this is the last corner. Burton goes for moves like that. I defend the inside no matter what happens. He left the door far ajar. Burton was always going to take the opportunity. The door closed incredibly quickly on Burton, who got half a car alongside. So I think there is actually half a defence there for Jake Burton.
Yeah, half a defense, but I don't think it's enough of a defense to completely qualify, to completely leave him out of some kind of penalty.
Well, we will see. The stewards will have a look, but results are in. Madison Down picks his second race win up of the season, and this will be the most controversial of events here because it's the most controversial Tasman lock we have seen in a while. Sam Blacklock steals second position, a career best for him, as there's Jake Burton in third position, taking up on Ethan Griggold at the final corner, who finishes fourth undeservedly. Jared Filsell finishes in fifth place, a fantastic recovery after the caution came out, had everything he needed to do, with Forzan Elnabi sixth and Richard Hampstead seventh. Ian Ford couldn't do much to hold off Filsell. He'll finish eighth, with Ethan Warren ninth and Wayne Burke rounding 10.
Josh Muggleton will come home in 11th place, with Chris Robinson coming home in 12th. A fantastic result for Redback Racing Team there. Luke Harvey finishes in 13th, with Dane Warren majorly losing out. He was in the same boat as Phil Sell when that second caution came out, but he was unable to make the moves that Phil Sell did. He ends up in 14th. Kurt Stenberg comes home in 15th place from 26th. Impressive drive. Michael Taliancic in 16th, 17th Scott Kozlowski, David Moore in 18th from 36th, another good run from him. Riley Blythe 19th, and the top 20 rounded out by Evolution Racing Team's Michael Cracknell.
Brett Loxton finishes in the Blackjack spot of 21st, and it's double deuce for Glenn Postlethwaite, who did not have the event that he was looking for. Ross Rizzo for Trick comes home 23rd, with Brian Borg, the Bryborg, in 24th. Lee Ellis will finish 25th with Scott Larnock, and then the Gene Fittis in 27th. Emily Jones would prove the cog that unlocked everything, or sorry, should I say locked everything up for Dane Warren today, and finishes home in 28th, with Bruce Kiley 29th and Luke Page rounding out 30.
Bob King comes home in 31st position, the last car on the lead lap, and then we go to the cars that finished a lap down on the rest of the field. Andrew Gillam, Cooper Webster, Michael Schreier finishing a lap down, and then we come to our less fortunates. Ryan O'Sullivan, Will Dodd, Matt Morris, Jake Blackhall, Matt Muggleton, and Stephen Clark. A really unfortunate retirement there, but our only other retirement there in 41st place is going to be Thomas Hins, and that's your field.
That is your field. So for the time being, we're going to step aside very briefly, compose ourselves here at V8 Online, and of course on the Virtual Racing School Facebook page, as well as iRacing Live. When we come back, the post-race show, the fallout from what was a very entertaining and controversial race here at Mosport. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Virtual Racing School V8 Supercars Online Premiere Series. What an event that we have had. It had everything. It had the green flag run we all expected. It had drama, intrigue, and controversy. But it has a second race win this season for Madison Down. Joining me in the commentary booth right now. Madison, a big victory for you, a massive victory that looked completely out of touch with 25 laps to go. A caution came in and was your massive beneficiary, and you just managed to walk away come the end.
Yeah, what a race. Sometimes luck just falls your way in motorsport, and tonight was one of those nights. So I'd say I had the second fastest car in the race behind Jared, who was very, very quick. I got held up behind Ethan in that first stint just a little bit, and I couldn't stay with Jared. I felt like if I had his draft, I would have been able to stay with him a little bit, but he was probably a tenth or two better than me. So, well, I got to say, I feel really sorry for Jared because he was well in control of that race. But yeah, I actually made the call that lap to pit. I was in no man's land. I wasn't really going to get caught. I wasn't going to catch Jared, so I thought I just need to pit to cover off the safety car. And while I was in the pit box, I heard there was a crash, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, I can't believe there's actually going to be a safety car this lap. The luck and timing was just too good to be true. So yeah, awesome race for me, and one I really needed for the championship.
Well, one you certainly needed. You've been fighting all the way from the back from basically the beginning of this season with the incident that you had at Road Atlanta, and a victory at Phillip Island was your way of yourself back on course. But more crucially than that, a victory here. Does this consolidate your position now of being arguably the main challenger to Jared Strone?
Yeah, I think at some point in the championship, I did need to start scoring decent consistent points. I had a really bad start to the year, unfortunately, and that's really put me on the back foot. I was, a good 200, 300 points off Jared after the first round, and I've pretty much, stayed a similar gap away. So I've just been really trying to focus on getting up there and finishing on the podium as often as I can. But these high-speed tracks, Phillip Island and Mosport, do tend to suit me. Tonight wasn't looking great. As I said, I was probably going to finish second, which is still a good result. But yeah, the way that luck fell was great. So yeah, I couldn't be happier. A very surprising win, but yeah, couldn't be happier.
A long break coming up, 4 weeks on the calendar for the moment. It seems to be Laguna Seca coming up. Potential maybe that Belle Isle could come in and make itself known. But for you yourself, no matter where you're going for the next circuit, do you feel now you have the momentum heading to the second half of the season and the Enduros?
Yeah, it's been a better last few rounds for me. Watkins wasn't fantastic, but that was a little bit on my behalf. I didn't drive as well as what I probably could have there. But at Phillip Island and this race tonight, I feel like I pretty much have driven as well as I could have at those 2 rounds. So the last 3 rounds haven't been too bad. So hopefully the momentum carries. Laguna is a bit of a weird one for us. We haven't really been there that much in the V8, so that's a little bit of an unknown. I think I've only raced there twice in the V8, so a little bit of an unknown, that one, but hopefully we can carry the momentum. But look, just great to have the Momo car back on the top step, and big thanks to everyone at TTR for their setup work. The car was a jet tonight. We were all very, very fast. The car looked after its tyres great, and yeah, we actually I was in a separate channel tonight. Well, I guess you can call it the stream team. Emily, myself, and Lee are all streaming. So to keep the radio chat out for everyone else. So it was a bit of a different night tonight. But yeah, big thanks to everyone behind the scenes.
Well, no worries at all. Madison Down coming home with a race victory. We would talk to second, though, Reese, but we got more pressing things. Controversy looms. You're standing by with the man who finished third, Jake Burton.
Yes, I am, Jake. That move on Ethan Grigg-Galt, I suppose, it's certainly going to have a few ramifications later on, but nonetheless, other than that last lap, it was a very strong drive from you and overcoming a few difficulties too.
Yeah, not the greatest race in the world. I'll talk about the last corner later, but yeah, in terms of the race, sort of. When I was behind Madison and Ethan, I could kind of keep pace with Madison, but they started fighting, so I thought, let's try and do something different. We're not going to have any chance to challenge Jared. Obviously, at that particular point, it didn't look like Jared was as fast as he ended up being. So, yeah, decided to go for the early pit stop, but I just didn't anticipate how bad the traffic could be. Had a couple altercations with some slower cars feeding me off the road and stuff like that, but eventually it somewhat played into our favor with the safety car, and when it landed, obviously it completely rorted Jared and I think Dane as well. So really sorry to Jared to hear that happened, but then we just had to sort of maintain, and I had the pace for Ethan in those closing laps, but just didn't seem to be able to do anything with it. I had it wrong places, and then yeah, had a go in the last corner. One who's really done much V8 supercar racing before should know that you should cover that last corner on the last lap. Ethan didn't. I had a go. Was in second gear, 1 gear lower than what I'd normally been, was about 20 clicks an hour slower. So yeah, I would have made it around the corner fine, but there was just no room given, unfortunately. It was ambitious, but I felt like I was turned down on a little bit there. So I think it's a bit 50-50, and congrats to Sam as well, and Madison for the 1-2.
Excellent stuff. Well, Jake, I can confirm that that you've been docked 30 points as a result of that incident upon review by the stewards. So obviously not the full haul of points possible to continue your strong championship run at the moment. You still remain, I believe, in the top 10 in the championship standings. So I guess now you take a break for the next month, cool off, and look forward to Laguna Seca.
Yeah, that's sort of what you've got to do all the time. I'm not a big fan personally of Laguna, so that's going to be that we're really going to have to work on. And yeah, with regards to the points, you just sort of take these these decisions as they come. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to cop that one on the chin. But you know, we'll move on. We'll move forward to Laguna and try and push hard for some more results.
And obviously consolidate the lead that you and Madison enjoy in the teams championship. Who would you like to thank before we let you go, Jake?
Just a massive thanks to Fuel Autotech and Momo. Obviously, first and third on the grid tonight. Relatively strong results throughout this season. They've been really good supporters of Madison, myself, as well as Lee and even Sandman having a bit of a lob tonight. So, yeah, big thanks to those guys as well as the whole team over at TTR and Brock in particular for helping me out with the setup as per usual.
Excellent stuff. That was Jake Burton there. Your third place finisher on track, but of course, in some controversial circumstances. Jake, who do you have?
Well, I found Sam Blacklock, who came home in second position, a career best for the New Zealander. Sam, a fantastic result for you. Of course, getting yourself up into the mix early, just making sure that you were consolidating. Those early laps, though, having to fight around Forzan El Nabi, struggling a little bit for overtakes. How was the vehicle working out in the early stages?
Hey, Jake. Yeah, the car was really, really good. I don't think I've ever had a car this good at a racetrack. Felt just planted and it just did what I wanted it to. And I haven't practiced much at all this week. I've been busy, you know, spending time with my family and getting some work done for the broadcast. And I didn't expect this at all to come here and finish where I did, make the progress I did through the race. I'm pretty shocked.
Well, you can be pretty shocked because you managed to steal a couple of positions at the end. What was your take then on the final lap incident?
I don't know. I put the nose there, and I really wasn't gonna try and pass Jake. It was just a look up the inside to see if he was gonna react to it and maybe make him have a bad run out of the final turn. And then I just see two cars sideways in front of me, and I kind of think, oh, you know, cool, I'm on the podium. And then Jake obviously was recovering from that with a bit of wheel spin, and I don't know, I just slowly started pulling up alongside, and I couldn't actually tell where the finish line was. So I was getting really excited, and you know, I've already had messages from the neighbours telling me that they heard me. But yeah, I crossed the line and came up that I was second, and yeah, it put a bit of put me in a shock, I guess. Yeah.
Neighbours. Hey. Anyway, you find yourself now starting to find the form that many people have expected you to look at for this season, starting to get that development working, getting the results that you want. Laguna Seca then. Any feelings? Any thoughts?
I raced there in the development series start of last year, and split sprint round, and I took both wins. So I'm feeling a little bit confident. It's one of the tracks that I've done quite a lot of laps at. So obviously this result tonight sort of gives me a bit of a confidence boost. So try and carry that forward onto the next round.
Well, you've got your confidence boost. You also got your shout outs and sponsors. Who gets it done?
Massive shout out to Hybrid Racing Simulations and Stylesy. Yeah, awesome support throughout this week, and a big thanks to Brock and Jared for the setup work that they've done. Yeah, car was absolutely unbelievable.
No worries at all there. Sam Blacklock coming home in second. Reese, you found a championship leader with a slightly dented championship lead.
Yes, indeed, I have. Jared Philsell, welcome to the commentary box once again. You seemed to have it all worked out in this race, but then that safety car came out and it all came undone. What was the feeling at the moment that happened?
Angry. One word, angry. It came out at a really shit time, to be honest. I was at the second last corner and I was definitely coming in the lane because I was pretty certain it was going to be a safety car. It just got called at the wrong time for me. So, you know what they say, that's racing.
It certainly is, but nonetheless, thanks to the extra, well, I guess you could call it a free pit stop, even though you ended up in a very bad position in the field relative to where you were, but You ended up bringing it home with a storming drive to finish in the top 5. So the car obviously was down pat.
Yeah, it was really good. Pretty much controlled the whole race up until that crazy safety car, and then we had that really weird glitch as well. So that definitely put a hold on my progress through the field, because right at the end there, I probably only needed another 3 or 4 laps, and I would have been in and amongst it as well. So yeah, not too sure. Guys had a really good set this week. I think started with Jake's, and then we just progressed with it and made a few versions, and it's obviously really good seeing all the TTR drivers up in the top 10 and whatnot. So the team's had a very strong run here tonight, so that's good.
So coming into the next round at Laguna Seca in a month's time, your championship lead has been reduced as a result of this. Still, you have the championship lead. So will you be carrying on as normal come next round?
Yeah, I'm just going to send it.
Well, that's as good an answer as any, I suppose. Any shout-outs you'd like to give, Jared, before we let you go?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Brock. He was away this weekend and then lobbed a shock tune at us just before the race, and that seemingly turned the set from pretty average to very good. So I'll give a big shout out to Brock for spotting tonight. And Brett from Hybrid Racing Simulations does a great job. And yeah, that's all. Thanks.
There we go, Jared Filsell, our last driver interview of the night. Jake, now we are joined by Race Control, Mike Korolev and Simon Black.
We are. We're going to talk to Mike Korolev here, and we're going to apologise first and foremost for any industrial language that you heard during our past interview. Mike, safety car comes out. Safety car comes out. It's in a difficult position. I think there's no doubt in the mind that it is a safety car, but issues surrounding it. It's not often you get it. It is worth noting it is a week 13 build as well.
Well, yes, indeed. It's one of those things. I wasn't actually right on the action, but the guys called it straight away, and by the time I'd gotten to it, it was pretty clear that it should have been a safety car, where the cars were, and so forth. We certainly. I'm hearing now that it was good for Madison and bad for Jared, but that's, of course, not something that we would have we didn't even know until we just heard it then. So certainly it wasn't called in any particular order or for any particular reason and so forth. But yes, it was called, but it was a little bit of a weird glitch. It seemed like the sim still thought a driver who was way down in the field was being classed as the leader, and when he then was waved past, he actually got a black flag. So it kind of wrecked everything from a situational point of view. So we just decided to neutralise the race, get everything back into order so that people were where they should be, sort out those that had black flags because of the green flag start without a green flag, and then bring it back under control and get everybody racing on. So yeah. That's what it came down to.
Well, that's what it certainly came down to. Simon, in terms of action and in terms of the work that is done by the stewards to respond to incidents, having eyes on all parts of the circuits at all times, how difficult is it to be a steward?
The guys that help us make it a lot easier, because as you said, there are people that are watching live all the time, and then there are people who are reviewing incidents, and I'm taking notes and passing them on to the broadcast as well. So all of those things help. And in an incident like that, they, as soon as the guys say that they need to escape, I went and found them on the track and assessed whether we needed a safety car or not, and threw the safety car, and away we went. But I think the team in Race Control did a really good job, I thought, tonight in recovering from the safety car glitch there and getting everyone back underway. And I think the drivers did a great job of redressing the positions where they should as well, and made it work. So yep, big thanks to them for that.
Mike, there's a little wait coming up as well. We've got a month's break before we head to Laguna Seca, or wherever it is we're going to be going, maybe Belle Isle. But for Laguna Seca coming up, what is it that the stewards are going to be doing? What are they going to be looking at improving over the next month?
We may just have a little bit of a break and watch Le Mans, Jake. That would be really good. We just had a big, a pretty intense period of just running through the safety car restart rules. Where, as you know, and through the assistance of some of you guys there, we're still looking at how to classify where cars should be off the circuit, where they move to, and when they do have an engine failure and so forth. And it's really one of those moving things that we look at with regards to safety cars, what we're trying to figure out and make work on every circuit, as it were. We're also looking at the pros and cons of Belle Isle. It's one of those circuits that we would love to include, but there are considerations to make sure that the series works correctly and that there are no bugs and so forth. So we don't want to just leap out and go, yeah, we've got to have Belle Isle in the series right now. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. We do want to test it and make sure it's right first. So whether we can do that to a satisfactory level to insert it, there's other considerations. Obviously, people may have tested and so forth. So we'll be looking at those things and testing them over that time and seeing where they play out, and then looking from an evaluation point of view to see whether that circuit could, or shouldn't be introduced this year. And yeah, that's probably where we'll some of the guys will have a little bit of a break. We'll start to work on the statistics for some of the prizes for this year, because it's something that we probably haven't spoken a lot about, but there are certain clean driving awards and so forth. So we'll start those up now that we've got a database to work with. And yeah, we'll start bringing those things up to the forefront for you guys to have a chat about pre-race.
Well, a lot of exciting things cropping up then over the coming weeks there. Mike Korolev and Simon Black, who have been working incredibly hard from the steward's office, shall we say. But unfortunately, that's all we are going to have time for here this evening on V8 Online. And of course, on the Virtual Racing School Facebook page, a massive thank you to everyone who has been watching, along with Cut Price and their racing replays. We've got also the likes of Oceanic Sim Racing for organising everything, along with West End Mazda and Co. That has been Reese Gardner. That has also been Mr. J. Kennedy in the booth as well. I've been hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the observer of sim racing. It's controversial. Points have been docked. Positions, though, won't come back for Ethan Griggold. For though Phil Sell got caught out when it came to the pit stop, we all know that a caution can come out and hurt anybody at any time. Madison Down now takes the advantage into the break, and now there is a long time left to mull over thoughts, stew, think, and then execute for the second half of the season. Have a good one.